Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley. He's my co-host and producer, Zach Goodman. Today's show brought to you by Pressbox Offers. Baseball season is here, and for the first time in history, you can bet from your phone in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives so you can start winning today. Get up to $1,000 in the deposit bonus match, plus a $50 free bet with DraftKings. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim your incentive. I tried to combine the words deposit and bonus, and it came out as deponus. Deponus. $1,000 in deponus match. I guess that could work. Like
Depotus, the president of the United States.
Like what's his name? Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. Benifer. You know, or
you're just gonna start making
Brangelina.
Making new things out here.
Yeah, we're just making new words. Deponus. It means deposit your bonus. Anyway, welcome to the Bat Around. Orioles victors over the Chicago White Sox last night, 6-3, in a game that Zachary Goodman, frankly, they looked dead in the water, right? They had one hit, I think, going into the sixth inning. They had walked 5 times to that point, but weren't able to score any runs. They had grounded into a couple of double plays. It wasn't looking good for the home team. Our home team, not the home team in the game. But then they managed to load the bases there in the 7th inning with 2 outs. Cedric Mullins comes up. He walks to bring in the Orioles' first run, and then the Lord and Savior, the Savior of Baltimore, the hometown hero, Adley Rutschman steps to the plate and immediately falls behind 0-2. Now, 0-2, you're looking to protect, right? You're looking, especially in that situation, you're just trying to stay alive until you finally get a pitch that you can hit. Who in the hell in this game, 0-2, takes a 99-mile-an-hour fastball and rips it to the opposite field into the gap for a go-ahead 3-run double?
Not many players in Major League Baseball, I'll tell you that.
Who, 0-2, 99 on the outer third.
Yeah.
And you just smack that ball into the left center field gap. Adley Rutschman is absolutely incredible. This is the day after hitting a walk-off home run on a 1-0 pitch in the bottom of the 9th inning against the Athletics to take 3 or 4 in that series. He's unstoppable.
Yeah.
Ho-hum, he reached base 4 times again. This guy is on base twice a game, minimum.
Yeah.
He's on base twice a game, minimum. And
there's very few games where he's not on base in some capacity, whether it's a hit by pitch, whether it's a walk, whether it's a home run, a double, who knows? I mean, this guy does it all. We've known that for a while, but I think he's taken his game to a whole other level this season. We're starting to see it. It's incredible.
I had to erase a tweet before I hit send last night because I was like, I don't feel like dealing with the backlash of this. I was going to tweet out, he's Ted Williams.
All right.
I was gonna exactly. I deleted it.
I might have not liked that one.
But the thing is, I know that he's not Ted Williams, but have you ever seen a guy? And look, we're 2 weeks into the season. I get it, but have you ever seen somebody play the game like Adley Rutschman for the Baltimore Orioles? I've been watching the Orioles a long, long time, and look. The early season baseball brings a lot of overreactions.
Eric Thames hitting like 10 home runs in April that one year and batting like 357, and everyone thought he was God. And then the next month in May.
I don't think that happened.
Oh, that definitely happened. Eric Thames for the Brewers one year was unreal in April, and then had a horrible rest of the season. And now
when was this? Because I remember him going to Japan and being unreal.
Oh, he did it in Major League Baseball for the Brewers. This was maybe 2018.
Okay, I remember him going to Japan and being absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, he was too, yeah.
And then I remember him coming back and getting off to a good start. I don't remember it being like 357 with 10 home runs in April.
It was pretty insane. I mean, in 2017, he hit 31 home runs, but a lot of them were in April. He was unbelievable and then fell off a cliff. But
yeah. Well, we'll have to look further into that because I don't know that it was as great as you said. But Adley Rutschman was a lot different than Eric Thames in the fact that Adley was the number 1 overall pick in 2019. He was considered maybe the best catching prospect since Johnny Bench, and maybe the best overall prospect since Bryce Harper. which is it's high praise.
So Eric Thames in 2017 hit 10 home runs in April. He was just the second player in Brewers franchise history to tally double-digit home runs in April. So he did do it.
He's no Brady Anderson,
Eric,
who hit 11 home runs in April in 1996.
Yeah, so Alex Rodriguez and Albert Pujols are the all-time April leaders. They have, I guess, 14 home runs in April. But there you go. So Eric Thames and Adley Rutschman, I guess they're... I don't know why I'm comparing them, but...
Yeah, I have no idea why
I just thought of that.
Just for the record, I compare Adley Rutschman to Ted Williams, and Zach compares him to Eric Thames.
Who is no longer in Major League Baseball.
Who was good for like 1 year
Yeah.
in Major League Baseball that year.
Yeah.
Okay, you were right. What did he bat? Because you said he hit like 357 in April.
I don't know. I mean, he was really good. I just remember that. I mean, he you know why I know this too? One of the reasons is
Fantasy baseball?
No, not fantasy baseball. I used to play a lot of MLB The Show back in 2017, and they gave him like a 99 overall card for his month of April because he was so ridiculously good. But it was definitely over 300. I don't know if it was as high as 357.
Well,
I might have been embellishing a little
bit.
You
just figured out how many home runs
I just Googled April Eric Thames. This is a Bleacher Report article that came up about his April.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, you just don't like using the
Oh, here we go. We have
the splits page on Baseball Reference.
No, sometimes it's a little bit confusing. He batted .345. He slugged .810.
Okay.
In April of 2017. So there we go.
Okay. You were right. I was wrong.
Adley Rutschman might as well, start getting on his level.
Adley Rutschman might as well be Eric Thames. All right. No, but what Adley's doing right now, and again, it's still early. He's going to come back down to earth a little bit. But as Adley goes, so go the Orioles. And you look at his approach at the plate. The Orioles going into last night's game led Major League Baseball in pitches seen per at-bat. They were averaging 4.2 pitches seen per at-bat. And then last night, they see 5.125 pitches per at-bat, and they walked 9 times. I've never seen a team this patient in Baltimore.
It's been a long time. It's been a really long time.
I don't ever remember a team being this patient from top to bottom. Even guys like Jorge Mateo and Ryan Mountcastle are having really good at bats. Really good at bats. And everybody's like, I believe Austin Hayes struck out on a pitch yesterday that started out of the strike zone and might as well have ended up in the dugout.
He did.
And he checked his swing, but he definitely went around, and he even knew it was like, when you swing at a pitch like that, the immediate thought that goes through your head is, oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
Austin Hayes has more check swings than anyone I've ever seen play Major League Baseball. He checks his swing on, even when you get a strike right down the middle at 95 or whatever it is, he'll just move the bat a little bit just to do it. He does that all the time. And I remember 2 years ago or so, I think it was 2020, the season, or maybe 3 years ago, I don't know what it was, but he got a lot of calls against him because he was coming around a lot more than he should have. And it looks like he's fixed that a little bit, but he did do that last night.
Yeah, he's been swinging a hot stick, but sure enough, he comes up a little lame last night. Apparently, he hyperextended his toes or something like that when he stepped on second base on his double, which was the hardest hit ball of his career. 110.5 miles per hour off the bat. His previous career high was 110.3.
Oh.
So the hardest hit ball of his career. And look, he had to hustle to get into second base because he hit it so hard the center fielder got to it pretty quickly. And he limped home on the Jorge Mateo double. Brandon Hyde said that he's fine, but it's just a microcosm, right? Because we're so used to seeing this guy get hurt, and last year he started out the same way. Started out super, super hot the first 3 months, got hurt, and then he fell off a cliff. It's 2 weeks in. It seems like an injury where he might not play today. Maybe he'll DH today just to kind of get off his feet a little bit. But it's something that you're already thinking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to worry about it with Austin Hayes because we've seen so many of these little injuries that they have. Austin Hayes, more specifically, turn into bigger ones. I mean, Michael Givens is a good example of a guy we thought was going to be out for 2-3 weeks. It was supposed to be minor, and here we are, almost halfway through April now, and Michael Givens still isn't back, and we don't have a timetable on when he's going to be back.
Well,
we think by the end of the month.
Well, they told us in spring training that it was probably going to be mid-April.
Yeah.
He had a side session the other day. He's expected to begin a rehab assignment next week, I believe.
Yeah.
It's mid-April.
But we remember last year with Adley Rutschman probably spending, 3 weeks more on the injury list than he was supposed to? There are these things where we hear about these supposedly minor injuries that turn into a lot
Supposedly is not a word.
Supposedly, sorry. Turn into a lot bigger injuries than we think they are. So with Austin Hayes, it's especially concerning because he's Austin Hayes, and he's had injuries throughout his entire career, and that's kind of what's plagued his career to this point. So with him, it's particularly concerning. So we would definitely have to be concerned with that, and hopefully he's okay because his bat's been good.
The bat's been good. I noticed about him, and this is why people think I'm miserable.
I see these tweets all the time on Twitter, by the way.
I noticed. I noticed about him that his hits, his hard contact, pretty much solely come with nobody on base.
Yeah,
and look, I'd rather him hit 350 like he is right now than not.
Yeah,
and I have no. I love what he's doing. He actually had a base hit the other day, but on what was the day before? On what was it, Thursday against the Athletics in that final game of the series, he got a base hit in his first at bat with a runner on first base. It was his third hit in 19 plate appearances with a runner on base. Just his third hit with a runner on base. And he's hitting 350.
Yeah.
So it goes to show you how often the hard contact, the big base hits he's getting, the big home runs he's getting, all of his home runs are solo shots, by the way.
Yeah.
How often he's getting big hits when there's nobody on.
That's not the only issue with Austin Hayes. For me, it's the defense, too. If you look at defensive WAR right now, he's already negative 0.4. His offensive WAR is 0.5, but that leaves him at 0.1 right now on Baseball Reference for WAR. That's kind of concerning. Negative 0.4 is already, this early in the season, is concerning for me.
Well, his defensive metrics haven't been good the last couple of years.
No.
And people talk about how good of a defender he is because they remember him making that huge catch in 2018 or 2019, I guess it was, in center field. They know how good his arm is. But he makes some, curious decisions.
He does.
Throwing to second base with the bases loaded on a fly out and allowing the runner to advance to third. Overrunning fly ball. How many times? We've seen him already twice in big situations overrun pop-ups down the left field
He has
line.
done that.
We saw him let a pop-up drop where Gunnar Henderson was full sprint with his back towards the infield, and he stopped to try and let Gunnar catch the ball. Gunnar would have had to do a complete 360 to catch that ball, and you're looking right at it. It lands at your feet. Why would you not try to catch that? We've seen poor decisions and just just faux pas in the outfield, and then not just from Austin, from McKenna, from Santander, from Mullins. Nobody's exempt from this except for Kyle Stowers, who had his one game and made two really nice catches out there, didn't make an error, made every play he was supposed to, and then gets sent down because Ryan McKenna should be here. Story for another day.
Yeah, to go to Austin Hayes' Savant page, his batting metrics are excellent. He's in the red and the dark red for basically every hitting metric. But if you look at the defensive metrics, first percentile, outs above average, the very worst percentile you can be in. 12 for outfielder jump. And for arm strength, 100. So it's complete opposite. I mean, the glove isn't very good, but the arm is incredible.
Yeah, But look, Austin Hayes is having a really nice start to the season. Nobody's going to care about his defense if he keeps hitting 350.
True.
Which he's not going to do. But if he finally puts it together for a full season and hits, say, 275 or 25 to 30 home runs, nobody's going to care that he is a mediocre defender.
Say Austin Hayes goes on the injured list today for some reason. Who comes up?
I have no idea. The conventional wisdom would think Kyle Stowers.
You would think. Yeah.
You would think, but maybe Jordan Westberg because he can play.
Could be.
He can play a little bit of everything, and they like that kind of versatility. And he's right-handed. I don't know, man. Brandon Hyde does not like Kyle Stowers.
He really doesn't. He really doesn't.
I don't think he dislikes him as a person. I just don't think that Brandon Hyde thinks Kyle Stowers is a very good baseball player.
I think it goes far beyond him, though. I think it's the whole front office is not too big on Kyle Stowers.
You know what? I don't want to get into this. I have my own opinions on this, and a lot of people agree with me. A lot of people don't agree with me. But I'm not a big Brandon Hyde fan, I wanted to give him a chance. I'm not a big Brandon Hyde fan, and we'll just leave it at that. Orioles, they're 8-6. They've won 4 of their last 5 after their victory, 6-3 over the White Sox last night. The bullpen had some changes to it. Keegan Aiken goes on the paternity list. He's expecting his first child with his wife this weekend, so he's on the paternity list. They sent down Cole Irvin, who was their big trade acquisition, and he's given them nothing. 17 hits, 15 runs in 12 2/3 innings. He's not, and 8 walks. by the way. The only time he's missing bats is when he's throwing pitches out of the strike zone. And he's just really, really awful start. And the guy who had over 180 innings last year, a sub-4 ERA, 3 starts into his tenure with the Orioles, and he's already down in the minor leagues. Nobody saw that coming.
Nobody saw that coming. I don't think anybody could have predicted that. He's been far worse than anybody could have predicted. The stuff doesn't look good. The command hasn't been good. And he's obviously one of those guys who doesn't throw very hard. I mean, he's 89, 93. Maybe you'll see him top out at. He just doesn't throw that hard. So you've got to have good stuff. You've got to have good command. And he really doesn't have any of that. So to me right now, he's not a major league pitcher. He hasn't looked like one. He's struggled. Everyone's hit off him. I mean, the Athletics teed off him. Was the Athletics? Who was the team who put up a really crooked number? I think it was 6 earned runs on him.
It was the Athletics.
It was the A's. Okay,
it was
his former team and a team that doesn't have any firepower in their lineup.
Yeah, you could have fooled me based on how well they hit the Orioles. I mean,
true.
It seemed like every game was 8-7. You know, the Athletics putting up a ton of runs. The Orioles pitching staff is a little bit concerning right now. Now, in the long run, I'm not overly concerned because I think that they have arms coming. But the moves that they made, the curious moves that they made before heading into the series against Chicago, like I said, they were curious. Spencer Watkins and Yenier Cano are the guys called up to replace Aiken and Irvin.
Mm-hmm.
And where's Nick Vespi? You know,
good question.
If it had been Spencer Watkins and Nick Vespi, or even, and I hate to say it because I still don't think he's very good, but Joey Crable, you can understand that. Yenier Cano, and look, Yenier Cano was the savior of the game last night.
He was.
He went an inning and 2/3 of hitless, scoreless ball, got a big double play when the Orioles really needed it. I mean, they took that lead 4-3 last night, and then immediately Cionel Perez comes in and puts runners on base. So there's nobody out. He gets an out. They pull him out of the game. No, I'm sorry. He got an out like on the first batter. It was a ground out to first base, and then he puts 2 guys on. They bring in Cano. Cano goes 3-2 before finally getting a double play ball and getting out of the inning, and then clean inning the next inning. I didn't see that coming, but also he went 3-2 on 3 of the 4 batters that he faced. Threw a lot of pitches to those 4 batters. Savior of the game last night. Do you have any confidence, though, in him moving forward?
Well, I mean, the Orioles thought enough of him to trade for him. So we'll say that there's something there, obviously, with him. And I actually didn't get to see him pitch last night. Did not see his outing. So I can't necessarily speak on the stuff or the command or what he did last night. But he pitched well on paper, at least, and from what you're saying. So to me, he should get a chance because the bullpen's been struggling and they need guys there. But I don't necessarily have a ton of confidence now.
Yeah, and Mike Baumann. Mike Bauman's a guy who I'm gaining confidence in the more I see him pitch. On his 6th outing of the year last night, 5th scoreless. He's earning the opportunity and the right to pitch in high leverage situations late in the ball game. He did a phenomenal job getting through his inning last night. Tyler Wells, absolutely dominant. He gave up 1 hit in the first 5 innings. It was a home run to Berger. Which the Orioles beat writers had a nice little
they sure did.
Nice little thing going on Twitter last night.
I saw someone throw in a Springsteen reference. I did see that. That was what I took away from that.
You are so in love with Bruce Springsteen, man. Does he know that you're the president of his fan club?
Look, honestly,
you and Ken Weinman just standing there with your posters up against the gate. Like, my God. Somehow
I wish you knew.
It's like in Seinfeld when they mention Superman every episode. Zach mentions Bruce Springsteen every show. Every show.
He's always relevant. I mean,
he is completely irrelevant. He's relevant to Zach Goodman and 60-year-olds everywhere. Anyway.
I made you lose your train of thought because
in my notes it says pitching woes taking some of the sweetness of the start away. And I thought,
you know my favorite part about your notes. You said Adley Rutschman is good, Cole Irvin is not.
Yeah,
that was my favorite part.
But I thought it said pitching woes taking some of the sweetness of the tart away, and it made me laugh and pause for a second. But that's not what it said. But let's try and fix this. This pitching staff right now because I think that Kyle Gibson.
Okay.
He's obviously in your rotation.
Yeah.
Tyler Wells is obviously in your rotation right now. Grayson Rodriguez is obviously in your rotation right now.
I think so.
But then you've seen Dean Kremer and Cole Irvin just be god awful in their first 3 starts. They called up Spencer Watkins. I don't think they called up Spencer Watkins to start. I think they called him up to provide long relief in the bullpen because Bradish, he had an outing yesterday. He gave up 4 runs, 3 earned in the 4th inning, but innings 1 through 3 and inning 5 were clean for him. He had a good outing otherwise. He's going to be back to start on Wednesday in D.C., and so now you're looking at, Bradish is going to be in that rotation. Kremer's still in there.
Yeah.
They're going to give him another opportunity. Who do you replace? If Kremer isn't good, who do you put in the rotation in place of him? Is it Spencer Watkins? Is he back already? DL Hall was not good his first outing and really good his second outing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he pitches tonight.
Okay.
Because he hasn't pitched since Sunday. I thought he was going to pitch last night. I believe he pitches tonight for Norfolk. If he's good again and Kremer's bad in his next start, are you starting? Are you bringing up DL Hall to take his spot in the rotation, or do you think he's not built up yet? He's throwing 80 pitches an outing.
Okay.
Bruce Zimmerman's been okay. Drew Rom's been good, but I don't think they look at him that way. At least not yet, anyway. So let's start with the rotation. Who's in your starting rotation if Kremer doesn't get it done?
Yeah, it's tough. Did you mention the Bradish return? Because that's imminent. Okay.
I said he starts Wednesday in D.C.
Right. So you have Rodriguez is going to stay in for the time being, I think. More out of necessity and not necessarily that he's blown anyone away. But like Bradish last year, he's going to be in there and learn. And that's the important part about it. So he's going to be there.
And that's one of the reasons that they sent Cole Irvin down is because, look, you're going to keep Reyes and Rodriguez in your rotation.
Yeah.
You're not going to have 2 guys or even 3 where you're trying to hope that they turn it around.
It's weird with Dean Kremer because I think that I would have said 2 weeks ago, oh, he's staying in until he can't. Like, he literally physically can't. But then you see them option Irvin. Mm-hmm. And I think it has to be Watkins then. That would be the guy that would step in, and that's not the guy I'd like to step in. That's not. But out of necessity, if Dean Kremer's ERA is ballooning like 6 or 7, which it is right now, you got to be concerned with that and say, okay, let's give Spencer a shot, even though he's proven to be a very mid-level, not low-level, I'd say, starting pitcher.
He had a 9-start stretch last year where he was really good.
He was.
Which was something we didn't see coming. And then he had a few starts where he got knocked around and he was sent down to the minors again. I don't know what to think about Spencer Watkins. I'm going with my gut with him and thinking he's not a big league starter. I don't think he's a big league pitcher, to be perfectly honest with you. I think he's a 4A pitcher. And so that's what my gut tells me about Spencer Watkins. I don't think that they're ready to bring DL Hall up yet. I think that they want to get him, 7, 8, 9, 10 starts before they consider bringing him up. They don't. It's crazy how we thought they had so many options, but look, Austin Voth has been awful. He's had 5 appearances. He's given up at least 1 home run in all 5 appearances. He's been awful. I thought that Kremer was going to get on track against the Athletics. I really believed that he was going to end up going 6 innings of 1 or 2 run ball against them and get his confidence back. That did not happen. He got knocked around again. He gave up 2 big home runs. And so you're looking at that, and it's if he had pitched well, then you're thinking, okay, your rotation is going to be Gibson, Rodriguez, Bradish, Irvin, and Kremer. Mm-hmm. You DFA Voth. You send Wells to the bullpen because he gives you really solid long relief. You move Mike Baumann into a later inning role. You call up Nick Vespi to replace Keegan Aiken, and you wait till Givens and Tater back, and maybe you can get off onto a run here. And look, the Orioles are 8-6. They have a solid record. It's still early in the season. But look, last year they started the season 1-5. So being 8-6 through 14 games right now, and having never been more than 1 game below 500, now a season high 2 games over 500. They're playing solid baseball. They're sticking right in the thick of things. I think that would have absolutely saved this pitching staff. All those moves I just mentioned. Yeah. But Kremer not pitching well throws a wrench in everything, because now you got to replace 2 guys in your starting rotation possibly, and really 3 if you think about it, because Kyle Bradish got hurt, so Grayson Rodriguez had to come up and replace him. You're 2 weeks into the season. You've already had to replace potentially 3 guys in your rotation. Yeah. Not good.
This makes me really question the longevity of Dean Kremer on this roster, because last year he had a lot of bad starts, and then he came up again. They brought him up, and he was good again.
That's not true either. That's not true. Last year he got hurt on opening day warming up.
Okay, that's fair.
And he went down to the minors. He was down there for a month when he came up.
And then he came up.
I'm sorry, he was down there. He was down for 2 months because he had the injury that lasted the entire month, and he was in the minors for a month. He came up and he pitched really well in June, and then he had 4 or 5 starts where he was mediocre at best in July, and then from August on he turned it on.
He did. But I mean, he still ended up with what, a 4 or something ERA?
No,
or
his ERA was 3.23.
Okay, that's fair. I mean. To me, I haven't seen the consistency yet from Kremer, and I don't have the confidence there.
There's been a lot more bad from Kremer than there's been good. And honestly, when Corbin Burns went through his arbitration thing with the Brewers and was talking about how the relationship is soured and all that, and you could tell he didn't want to be there. And we got to get Stan on the line if you want to give him a call. But I was thinking, well, you know what? The Orioles could use a Corbin Burns in their rotation. We have too many infielders. They could use an infielder. Why not trade Dean Kremer and maybe Ramon Arias to play with his brother and maybe one of those infield prospects down the minors, and go and get a Corbin Burns. Obviously, that was a pipe dream. The Orioles didn't do that, and now Dean Kremer is really struggling in the rotation for the Orioles. So that didn't play out the way I had hoped it would, and the rotation, we're talking in spring training about how they have 9, 10, 11 options. Now they have less options and spots than they have filled. So it's been a weird start to the season for the pitching for sure. Hopefully they can get things figured out. Want to remind you all that today's show is brought to you by Birdland Sports. O's fans, did you know that one of your fellow fans is the owner of Birdland Sports? That's right. Josh Soroka from the Section 336 podcast is behind Birdland Sports. He knows what fellow fans want and has created an amazing collection of merchandise just for you. From the popular Birds Are Coming tees to unique player cartoon shirts and World Series prediction designs, Birdland Sports has everything you need to show off your O's pride. And with prices more affordable than the big guys, you can support a small business run by one of your own. New this week at Birdland Sports, a group of shirts celebrating the Homer hose or the hydration station or and they're all on sale for $19.99. Don't wait. Head to birdlandsports.com today and show your support for the birds with Birdland Sports. Joining us now for his weekly segment, he is Stan the Fan. Charles, he's live on the Batter Round. Stan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, guys.
Stan, how impressive has Adley Rutschman's start to the season been? It seems like he's on base 2 or 3 times every single game, and recently 4 or 5 times. He's been as advertised and way, way better.
Yeah, there's really not a lot I can add to that, to be honest with you, Paul. He's a really unique performer. I'm always reminded when I watch somebody as good as him in the clutch, the comment that Johnny Padres made. But Johnny Padres was a Los Angeles Dodger pitcher back in the 50s and early 60s. And he always said that great players don't get better in the clutch, that they just don't recede from the moment, that they're able to keep their game at the same level while those around them, meaning in this case the pitcher, sort of chokes. And it's really, I think there's something to that.
Yeah, Stan, I got to tell you, I don't think that there's many hitters in Major League Baseball that fall behind 0-2 like Rutschman did in the 7th inning yesterday. And then on the next pitch, 99 on the outer third of the plate, and they just rip it the opposite way into the left center field gap for a 3-run double. That was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen Adley Rutschman do, and his season's been filled with nothing but impressive things.
It's interesting. You use the term, there's not a lot of hitters that would fall back 0-2 or
no. There's not a lot of hitters that 0-2 can take 99 on the outer third and rip it to the opposite field.
But you made it sound like it was the pitcher made him 0-2. He has the most unique thing that he has is no matter what the outcome, I always feel that he controls like 8 out of 10 at bats. That he's controlling it.
No, and that was my point. He was down 0-2, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, he's not going to swing at a bad pitch here. He's going to work this count and probably get it back to 2-2 before something happens. Right. But it was the next pitch, 99 outer third, and he takes it to the opposite field. He does something amazing every single night. It's just been unbelievable to see. He is everything we hoped and dreamed he would be to this point. Now, somebody who's not
and as you said, much more.
Yeah,
much more.
absolutely
So
impressive.
far. Yeah.
Somebody who has not been impressive is Cole Irvin. He was optioned to AAA the other day after allowing 15 runs on 17 hits and 8 walks in just 12 and 2/3 innings, covering his first 3 starts. Stan, Orioles traded Darnell Hernandez for him back in January. He was immediately given a spot in the rotation at the end of January before ever doing anything for the Orioles, and now he's already optioned to AAA. They called up Spencer Watkins. Were you surprised at the call-up of Spencer Watkins and Yenier Cano to kind of try and help this pitching staff, number one? And number two, what does Cole Irvin need to do to get back? Because the 8 walks are maybe the most alarming thing.
Well, this is one of those cases the Orioles were in and figured to be in almost daily peril with their starters not giving them the length that they needed. This is not. Look, trust me. If Cole Irvin was pitching well and the rest around him weren't, he wouldn't have been optioned. There's no question about that. This is not some desperate situation. They went. I'm sure that this is the way they phrased it to him. Is look, we know you're better than this. You're not pitching well. You're not needed for another 5 or 6 days. The timing is that Bradish will be back. Go get a game down, get innings under your feet, and you'll be back up. This is not like a panic move. They desperately needed arms, and one of those arms, and they also put Keegan Aiken on the paternity list. One of those arms helped them win a game last night, and that was Yenier Cano, who last year was I wondered what the hell they added him into that trade. He came over from Minnesota in the Jorge Lopez trade. This spring, he showed a little bit about why Mike Elias doesn't just get throw-ins and deals. He gets something extra, that there's a little value-added thing there. And last night, he pitched very well. I mean, well enough that he immediately moves up a tick in the grand scheme of things right now with the Orioles. Yeah,
look, he did pitch well. He came in, he did his job. He got that double play after Perez put 2 on with 1 out in that 7th inning, and he had a clean 8th inning. He fell behind. He not fell behind, but he had 3-2 counts on 3 of the 4 batters that he faced. The big bugaboo with him last year and to start this year is that he walks too many guys.
Yeah.
Is there a concern there, considering he did get the 3-2 counts with all those guys, or is it much ado about nothing because ultimately he got his job done?
I mean, I don't think it's much ado about nothing. You'd like to see somebody that controls, from the pitching side of things, that controls the strike zone a little bit better than he does, and that's probably why he's 29 years old and was a throw-in in the deal, and the Orioles saw something in him. Trust me, it wasn't an accident that they ended up with Yenier Cano.
Sure.
They like the arm. They like his pitchability. But, he's at this point in time, after watching him one game, he's not Tate or Givens at their best, but he might be an important part here. Brandon the other day at the press conference before the day game on Thursday said now they're looking at Tate as being like late May, sometime in mid to late May. So he's out another month.
Well, they said that towards the end of spring training. It was looking more like mid to late May. That was something that they said towards the end of spring training. So are the Orioles then, do you think that they're kind of just trying to figure it out, piece something together, and maybe tread water until those guys are ready to come back? Because it seems like Givens might be back in the next week or two to kind of help out this bullpen. I was surprised that it was Cano and Watkins up. Are they just trying to piece it together until they get some of their better arms back?
I mean, who were the alternatives beyond that?
Well,
I mean, seriously, I'm not that familiar with the top 20 minor league pitchers, but both of them are. Watkins, I think, had a 5 ERA down there, or 4 something ERA. But Cano had pitched very well. I don't think he let up a run in 3 or 4 appearances for Norfolk. But they had those 2 guys. They got Bruce Zimmerman. Would you rather Zimmerman be up than Watkins? I wouldn't.
Well, I was thinking if you're replacing a lefty in the bullpen in Keegan Aiken, Nick Vesby's been phenomenal for Norfolk since the end of 2021. And I know that he's a soft tosser, but he's doing something right down there. I mean, if he keeps giving scoreless appearances, you would think he would come up, and I don't think he has the control issues that Yenny or Cano has. I was surprised to see it be Cano and Watkins to start. Zach?
Oh,
I wasn't surprised to see Cano. I think it would be a really sort of dire situation for them to bring Bruce Zimmerman up.
You know? I wouldn't expect Zimmerman either.
All I was going to say is that I think they need, at the end of the day, someone that can provide length, which I'm not sure Nick Vesby really can. How many innings can he provide you per outing?
Watkins is there for the day that they got. Look, Brandon tried to go out of his way the other day to say, hey, Austin Voth, he gave up the home run, but then he got 6 big outs in a game, that we desperately needed. And that was a positive from him. But the bottom line, and you put it in your notes, he's given up a home run in all of his appearances this year. So I don't think that they want to make him the next guy up. Watkins, if the starting pitcher today, Gibson, somehow doesn't give them length, I think that Spencer Watkins is the guy that they brought up to take a bullet and pitch 3 or 4 innings in a game. That's important for them to not soak up other arms in the bullpen.
Right, and my point wasn't that it should have been Vesby instead of Spencer Watkins. The Watkins move I got, I was thinking more along the lines of Yenny or Cano because of the control issues. I thought it would have been Vesby because I thought he earned it to this point. Mike Baumann, Stan, is certainly earning it. He's quietly gone 5 of 6 outings scoreless. Is he earning higher leverage situations for this team because he's doing a damn fine job right now?
Yeah, I think he's earning it. I think he's sort of the next man up, and he and Gillespie have both done representative jobs. I really like Baumann in this role.
Yeah.
You know me. I'm a convertible guy. I like to convert failed starters to relievers if I think they're worth. You notice I don't mention, and this isn't a knock on him in any way as a person, but I don't mention, hey, why don't they turn Bruce Zimmerman into a relief pitcher?
Right.
I don't think his stuff plays really at this point in time anywhere, but a Michael Baumann, it's really interesting when he comes in and pitches, to 3 to 6 hitters. He's going to be pretty tough. He's going to be pretty tough to deal with. He's got a lot of live action on his pitches.
Yeah, no, Mike Baumann, when they moved him to I'm usually a guy, when I see somebody who has some minor league success as a starter, I want to see them keep him as a starter and see if he can translate it to the big leagues. Mike Baumann was one of those guys where, I wanted to see him start in the big leagues, and he did a solid job in his spot starts last year. But moving him to a relief role just made so much sense to me because he can actually be a power arm if he only has to go, like you said, face 3 to 6 hitters. And that's what he's showing right now, and he's earning opportunities to pitch in higher leverage situations. He's flourishing in this role. I think it was one of the smarter moves the Orioles have made this past off season, converting him. With the rotation, and we're going to talk about the offense here in just a second, but with the rotation, Stan, right now, Cole Irvin's been optioned to AAA, and the way you're speaking of it seems more like that time when they sent Wei Yin Chen down because they didn't need a starter at that point. More than it was a demotion. Dean Kremer has not been good. Voth has had his struggles coming out of the bullpen. So now you're looking at, when we thought we had 9, 10, 11 guys for this rotation, now it's who do you spot together for your 5? Now, maybe that's not the right term, spot together, but who do you put together for your 5 starters? Gibson, Rodriguez, and Wells are in there. Bradish is coming back. He wasn't exactly dominant last night in his rehab start for Bowie. What's your concern level for this rotation right now?
It's not high. I'm not panicking just yet. I think what put the spotlight on them a little bit more is that start that Tampa Bay got off to. And if they come back to earth a little bit, I think the panic level would recede a great deal. Look, we knew that this wasn't going to be a smooth ride with all these starters, that everything was going to go right with them. It's one of the reasons you do like to have 9 or 10 different options.
Mhm.
But this club doesn't have 9 or 10 options. It's got 6 or 7 options, and one of them not going to be up for at least another 12 days, I guess, unless they find an injury somewhere. So,
Right.
It's an imperfect, evolving process right now, getting the starting pitching. But they've got to get more length, and they got a little bit more last night by Wells. He pitched really pretty brilliantly for most of his start last night.
Yeah, he seemed to tire out in the 6th inning. That's kind of more so, Stan, just because it might be his first time getting 6 ups, including spring training, since last year. Do you think he just kind of ran out of gas there in the 6th?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. I mean, he was going toe to toe. I mean, what wins the game for the Orioles last night is that Clevenger, we got his pitch count up by a couple. What do we have? 5 walks against him.
I know that they
walks.
had 9 for the game. I know that much. So I think he
Right.
walked 5. I remember them saying that's his 5th walk today.
He walked Henderson twice. He walked Rutschman twice, and somebody else got a walk off of him. That added to the pitch count, and that's what got him out of the ball game because he looked unhittable last night.
Well, and that White Sox bullpen is not good. Their ERA is above 7. I think they have the worst bullpen in baseball.
Yeah.
The Orioles tattooed them last night once they got into the game. Now, offensively, Adley's having an unbelievable start to the year. Ryan Mountcastle, that 2-homer, 9 RBI game the other day, he's been off to a hot start. Same thing with Austin Hayes. Santander, Cedric Mullins, and Gunnar Henderson have yet to get it going. With Santander, he's got 3 hits in his last 33 at bats. Brandon Hyde continues to bat him 3rd or 4th. He hit 240 2 years ago, and he hit 241 last year. To me, this guy's a 5 or 6 hitter when he's really going. How much longer can Brandon Hyde justify batting him in the middle of his order?
Well, the way you phrase that, I would take exception. If he's really going, then he can bat 3rd or 4th. But when he's playing like this, to me, I would have no problem with kind of switching him out with Hayes, again, especially against a left-handed pitcher, and have him bat 7th. He looks absolutely awful at the plate.
He
right
does.
now.
It's bad.
And I don't know. I hear he's got a little back issue or something. I asked Rock Kabatko on the side the other day. I said, is he hurt or what's the story? Because he didn't play 1 or 2 days in a row. And he said, yeah, he's dealing with a little back thing. He just looks awful right now.
It doesn't look like he's generating any power either. There was a ball that he hit last night that just looked like he gave it all he could, and it barely got it. He hit 250. It doesn't look like he's generating a lot of power. He's swinging at a lot of bad pitches, at least earlier in the season. And it's still early in the season, but earlier he was taking some pitches and getting some walks. But now it seems like he's swinging at everything, trying to make something happen, and he just can't seem to get the job done. And it might be a little nagging. He missed 2 days in a row against the Athletics, and I know they said he had the lower back issue. It's just frustrating to see a guy like that who can get the job done, but he's hitting 3rd or 4th in your order every night, 3 for his last 33. Gunnar Henderson, on the other hand, every time you think he starts to come out of it, Stan, he has a game where he goes 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and 2 walks. Do you agree with Brandon Hyde when he says that he thinks that he's being too patient at the plate?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. I think that it shows you that Rutschman was sort of the perfect storm of when he was ready and when the club needed him to be special. Gunnar's time frame right now looks like it's going to take a little longer than that. Last year he came up in the middle of the season, pitchers didn't react to him. He didn't face organizations that had really scouted him extensively how to pitch to him. I think, people, the book, so to speak, is created rather rapidly and word gets out. And I think he's struggling right now. I think it has something to do with how they're pitching him, and he's going to have to figure something out.
Yeah.
Remember, he's an awfully young player. He was special at AAA last year, really special at AA, last year, and performed well enough to kind of speed up the dial on him a little bit, with trying to get to liftoff time and make 2023 a season that they were ready to win. The time frame for him may have been pushed a little bit. It didn't look like it last year. Right now, he's very frustrated. He definitely got a couple bad strike threes last night. The home plate umpire was kind of his strike zone was really off to me.
They've all been.
Again, he was a poster child to me for why we need a robot umpire behind home plate. I would not be. They're committed to Gunnar Henderson. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be surprised in 2 weeks if suddenly they get to the same point with him and they need a spot, and he's hitting 180 or 190. That they say, you know what? Let's send him down for a month and get him going again, and then bring him back up. So I wouldn't rule that out entirely. I've seen it many times, and then it's up to the hitter to get past what is ailing him. And right now, he does not look good. And he does. I would agree that he's a little bit on the patient side.
Stan, do you buy what Ryan O'Hearn's doing so far? Having a really good start to his his tenure in Baltimore. He's hit pretty well and had a lot of RBIs so far, hitting in clutch situations. Are you buying any of it with Ryan O'Hearn?
Well, if you mean, am I buying it that he's going to be like this all the time? Probably not.
Fair.
I've had him in fantasy a couple times, and I'm amazed that certain players like him are just not respected by the teams that have them, and don't have, like Mike Matheny. I don't think Mike Matheny had a really bad Kansas City club. And this guy performed reasonably well for him and just couldn't make his way into the lineup. Matheny did the same thing with Edmund Olivares. So sometimes you get with a different manager who has a little bit more faith in you and gives you a little bit more rope to hang yourself. You don't hang yourself. You perform. So it's very early on, but they got him when he was hitting. This year he hit well in spring training. He was hitting very well down at Norfolk. And the worst thing to do is bring somebody like that up and show no confidence in him at all. Brandon, one of the things I like about him as a manager, he does get everybody involved. He doesn't let moss grow under any player's feet. If you're going to have a guy on your major league roster, he should be somebody you have some confidence in.
Yeah, no, I agree to a certain extent. I don't. It's really confusing to me that he doesn't do that with Kyle Stowers. But that's a question for another day that maybe we can get into if Stowers starts lighting it up down at AAA. Before we let you go, Stan, your power rankings, you just did your most recent ones this past week. You had the Tampa Bay Rays at 4th. They were, at the time of your power rankings, they were 9-0. They had jumped up from number 11 for you. Now they're 13-1. They lost their first game last night. Nobody scored more runs than Tampa Bay. Nobody's pitched better than Tampa Bay. Are you buying them? I do find it interesting that the first team that they played that we expect to be there at the end of the year, they lost that game. Although 13-0 is impressive no matter who you do it against.
Yeah, it was less impressive when it was 9-0 against the last 3 teams in my power rankings. The schedule really conspired to give Tampa a great chance at a great start, and Kevin Cash, I guarantee you, let that team know that how important the start is to the season, because we got a gift from the schedule makers. I mean, none of us looked at the every team's schedule and said, "Boy, Tampa's really starting against some horseshit teams. They could go 9-0." Boston's a fairly decent club, and those games were closer. but they ended up finding a way to win their first 13 games. They're not number one on my list, but they will move ahead of San Diego this week. San Diego is an imperfect club in some way, shape, or form. But Atlanta will still be my number one team, but Tampa will probably be number two.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to have them up there. They started the year 13-0, so it makes.
But they just lost. But they also just lost Jeffrey Springs, is announced for 2 months.
Yeah,
with his ulnar neuritis. So, they're pitching a pitcher today that I looked up is like 28 years old. I think it's Calvin Faucher or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not even impressive at AAA last year. So they're, every team's got different issues,
Yeah. Well, it's Tampa Bay. This guy.
Our issues are. Go ahead.
I was going to say, for Tampa Bay, this guy will come up and throw 6 innings and 2-hit ball. That's just how it's going to go.
I don't think he'll do that against Toronto today.
You're probably right.
I just don't think he will. They're pretty good, too.
Yeah, they are. All right, Stan, what do you got coming up this week?
Mike Boddicker is our guest Monday night on Press Box Live. Ross Grimsley and I will have it at 6 o'clock, and then 7 o'clock, the new arena downtown, formerly known as Royal Farms Arena, is open, and we're going to talk to Frank Remish, who is the operations manager or general manager of the building. I don't know what his position is exactly. He's the guy.
He's a general manager.
All the shows.
Yeah,
he's the general manager.
Yes, he plays in my Sunday baseball league. I actually played on the same team as him for a couple of years. Had no idea that he was the GM of the Baltimore Arena at the time. But
is he a good softball player?
We play baseball. He's got he's got a lot of power. When he gets a fastball, he can hit it a long way. A lot of power.
Wow. What position does he play?
First base. He's not exactly fleet of foot, although he has gotten himself into some pretty amazing shape. He's a good ball player. I like Frank. He's a good dude too.
Frank's a great dude.
Yeah.
Great dude. He'll be our guest 7 o'clock on Thursday.
We'll be sure to turn in for that. Stan, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next Saturday, okay?
All right, you too, and go O's.
Yes,
go
sir.
O's. What time's start time today? 2:10?
2:10.
Okay.
All
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you then. Bye. That was Stan the Fan Charles, who continues to have 2 great shows for you every week. Every Monday night, Stan and former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley visit with a different guest from the world of baseball. And every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan and Ross caught up with author Lee Lowenfish to discuss his new book about the death of scouting in baseball, while Stan chatted with Stevenson University Athletic Director Brett Adams. You can find these shows under the Videos tab at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or at PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan and Ross are back this Monday night with another great show with former Orioles pitcher Mike Boddicker. And as Stan just said, he and Gary Stein will be back on Thursday talking with the GM of the new arena in Baltimore, Frank Remish. Tune in. You don't want to miss either show this week. We're going to catch a break. When we come back in, Zach's going to sound off. We'll do the payoff pitch around the league. That and more next on the Bat Around.
Hartford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age, and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
That first sip, that first bite, Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows that the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Welcome back to the Bat-A-Round. Rolling right along here on a Saturday. It seems to be clearing up out there. My first baseball game of the season is supposed to be tomorrow, and so, of course, it always rains.
Wait, I thought you were already playing baseball, or was that indoors?
That was the indoor league. That ended,
okay.
the third week of March, so we've had about three maybe 4 weeks off. And
nice.
Now we were supposed to get started 2 weeks ago, but
I threw a baseball with some of my buddies yesterday, and my body is so sore. When you don't throw for like 3 weeks in small intervals, and then you go out there, and I probably threw 85, 90, 100 times, and oh my God, I'm sore.
Yeah.
Everything hurts this morning. It's so bad.
You're too young for that, man.
No, I mean, in high school when I pitched for those 2 years, the entire season, my elbow, my shoulder were on fire. I was convinced I needed Tommy John, but I don't know. My arm just can't handle it.
Well, that's what Zach's sounding off today. That's sounding off with Zach Goodman. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, I want to talk about Jared Kelenic.
Okay.
Jared Kelenic.
I don't, but all right.
Well, if you looked at his numbers, you might want to. Let's review Jared Kelenic a little bit, because this is a guy that was traded for Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano from the New York Mets, a former first-round draft pick, a guy that a lot of people had a lot of confidence in. He was a top prospect, top 100 prospect. He was always in that top 20 range. He was excellent. In the minor leagues, he was fantastic in basically every metric you could possibly find. In A+, he hit 309, hit 11 home runs. In the year 2019, he hit 23 home runs and batted .291 with an on-base percentage of .364. The guy was incredibly good in the minor leagues, and rightfully so deserved a promotion. Came into the major leagues in 2021 with Seattle and batted .181 with an on-base percentage of .265. Mm-hmm. In 2022, last year, he played he played 54 games with 181 at-bats for Seattle. He batted .141 with a .221 on-base percentage. But so far this year, all signs are pointing to Jared Kelenic finally becoming the guy that has Edwin Diaz on the Mets. It's starting to look like a really worthwhile trade if this holds up for Jared Kelenic. So far on the season, batting .366. He's already hit 4 home runs. Last year he hit only 7 total in 54 games, and he's already got 4 this year. He has an on-base percentage of .422, and his OPS is 1,203. So he's been excellent so far. Jared Kelenic has been excellent numbers-wise. 1203. Sure, we'll go with that. 1,203. And if you look at Jared Kelenic's baseball savant numbers, average exit velocity, 95th percentile. Max exit velocity, 89th percentile. Hard hit percentage, 99th percentile. Expected slugging percentage, 100th percentile. Expected batting average, 97th percentile. Expected weighted on-base average, 99th percentile. Barrel percentage, 97th percentile. This guy could legitimately become, if these things hold up, and if he starts becoming what he was in the minor leagues, one of the best players in baseball, and only makes Seattle that much stronger. This is not, I don't think this is a stretch that is going to change. I think Jared Kelenic is one of the better players in baseball when he gets going. And we're going to see it. I'm excited to see it because this guy has so much talent. I saw him in the minor leagues a lot. I loved him. And if he keeps this up, he's going to be dangerous, and Seattle's only going to get that much better. They're already a very good baseball team. And if Jared Kelenic hits 366 for the month of I wasn't going
Eric
there.
Thames.
You didn't let me finish my
Eric Thames.
But if he can keep that up for the month of April, and then he ends up as a 280 hitter with an on-base percentage of 340 for the rest of the year and hits 35 home runs, you're looking at a very good baseball team in Seattle.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Metrics are all pointing to it.
Yeah, they are, but it could just be a nice 2-week stretch.
It could be. It could be.
See, the thing with Kalanick is that I know you love Kalanick.
I love Jared Kalanick.
You've been talking about him for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
From what I was reading about him earlier in the year, he can't hit off-speed stuff.
That's been his problem. Yeah, that's been his problem.
He can't hit off-speed stuff. I'd like to think that just because you don't want to see guys fizzle out. You don't want to see guys fizzle out and be these top-rated prospects and then come into the majors and show they can't hack it. Nobody likes Ryan Leafs. Nobody wants Ryan Leafs to have
Ryan Leaf is my all-time favorite quarterback. How dare you?
You shut the hell up. Nobody wants to see a Ryan Leaf type of thing in any sport. I'm not necessarily championing the Seattle Mariners having a really good player and being a really good baseball team.
I think they're a really good baseball team.
They are, but I don't like them. I used to when Griffey was there, but A-Rod ruined the Mariners for me, and Mike Cameron, which is weird.
Not Brett Boone.
Brett Boone was just Brett Boone. He was just a dickbag. But am I allowed to say that? I don't think the FCC is
I don't know.
But the thing with I don't know, man. The Mariners just kind of struck me as like this arrogant team last year. They were fun 2 years ago, but I don't know. I have
a soft spot for them. I don't know why.
Well, the thing that I didn't like about Mike Cameron is everybody kept comparing Adam Jones to Mike Cameron. They kept being like, "Oh, he's going to be the next Mike Cameron." Mike Cameron sucked. Like Mike Cameron was a good defender.
Adam Jones turned out better than Mike Cameron.
But he hit like 230 and struck out like 200 times a year.
Yeah.
He would hit 30 home runs, but I didn't want anybody close to Mike Cameron playing for the Orioles. And thank God Adam Jones was far better than
Paul,
Mike Cameron.
who do you like more, Willie Adames or Mike Cameron?
Willie Adames. Like the fact that everybody talked about Mike Cameron like he was like Eric Davis. No, man.
He's no Eric Thames. I'll tell you that.
Eric Thames. No, Eric Davis. Like if Eric Davis hadn't gotten in his own way, he would have had potentially a Hall of Fame career.
Oh yeah.
Mike Cameron. Apologies to Daz, who's on the Orioles. He was in the Orioles minor league system. Yeah, that's his dad. I don't know why we're talking about him.
Let me finish by reading off his minor league numbers from last year, because Jared Kelenic did play 86 games in Seattle's AAA team last year, Tacoma. He hit 296, 366 OBP, and hit 18 home runs. If he can do that at the major league level, at least he's not going to do that, but if he can do a slightly lesser version of that, he hit 296 with a 366 on base percentage.
Okay.
If he can do that and he can hit 275 with a 340 on base percentage at the major league level, and if he plays so last year total, he had, if I put this all together, he would have had 25 home runs. So if he can do that and hit 275, 25 home runs, 340 on base, that makes Seattle a very good team.
They're already a very good team, and I don't need to see them get better, but I don't want him to be a bad player. But I'll tell you, man, that's a big if. He's got to prove it. So far, he's doing what he's supposed to do. Yeah. He's doing everything he needs to do to make you right. I just have to see it for longer than 2 weeks.
Striking out a little bit much, but that's him. He's a power hitter. Strikes out a lot. That's what he does.
Yeah, we'll see. He's off to a good start, and that bodes well for the Mariners and their fans for sure. So you've been on Kelenic for the last couple of years.
It's exciting.
I know you're a big fan of his. I don't get excited about prospects for other teams. I just don't. You love Anthony.
I just love baseball. I don't know.
You love Anthony Volpe, and I can't love.
He's off to a rough start, man. Oof.
Homered last night. We'll talk about that in the payoff pitch around the league next. But I don't know, man. There's some prospects who I do like. I think Corbin Carroll's an exciting player.
Oh, yeah.
But, I'm not going to get fired up about Anthony Volpe, especially because he plays for the Yankees, or Jared Kelenic with the Mariners, because the Mariners were one of the teams that stood in the Orioles' way from making the playoffs last year. So,
that's fair enough. I mean, look, Corbin Carroll so far batting 275, only 288 on base percentage. So
yeah, that speed, you got to get on base.
He hasn't been great. An OPS plus of only 101, so he's literally a league average hitter, and 0.1 WAR for him, which is probably coming mostly from the defensive side, since he is a defensive god in center field.
So would you rather? What's he hitting?
He's hitting 275.
275 with what you said, 288?
288.
288 on base percentage. Would you rather Gunnar hit 275 with 288 on base percentage, or be hitting the 130 that he's hitting with the 340 on base percentage?
And by the way, that on base percentage only comes from the hit by pitch. He hasn't walked all year.
Huh.
So, yeah, I mean that's tough. He's still hitting. He's getting on base at a 288 clip. That's really low. I'm assuming, what's Gunnar at right now? About 3 something, 320, 330. I would have to assume Gunner's on base percentage is.
I don't know, man. Let me. He's hitting 150.
Okay.
Sorry, my.
No, I can look it up.
I got it. It's right here. It's right here. He's batting 150 with a 358 on base percentage, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'll take the 358.
The 358 on base percentage.
In the long run, Carroll will probably it'll even out, and I'd choose Carroll. But he'll probably start walking a little bit more. But yeah, 358 is just a lot better than 288. So I'll take that.
12 walks for Gunnar Henderson. So despite his struggles, he's still taking good at bats for sure. I just realized that I never completed so I have a job now where I have to get up super early every morning. So that means that at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I am very, very tired. And I'm not staying up to watch, to see the finals of these late games like I've done every other year. So I have to do the payoff pitch around the league in the morning. Well, I forgot to do the last 4 games. So we're going to take a break.
Okay.
Let's take a break so I can compile this. We'll come back. We'll do the payoff pitch. We'll do Orioles banter, and we'll get Steve Melewski in before we take our third and final break. All that next on the Bet Around.
What air conditioning company can save 50% of your energy cost and qualify you for up to $7,500 in rebates? A.J. Michaels. We do more, we do it better for less. In Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows that the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4, available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
I'm Griffin Bass, and I have the extraordinary, mind-blowing, and life-affirming pleasure of being the new producer for the absolute funniest, smartest, and most handsome sports host in all of Baltimore. Wait a second, Glenn, I'm working for you, not Jeremy Kahn. If you're not listening to Glenn Clark Radio, here's what you're missing.
He's Coach Kevin Willard.
Glenn, thanks for having me.
Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Rashad Bateman.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
He is outfielder Cedric Mullins.
Thank you guys for having me.
Mr. Marcus Williams, who's now with us.
Man, appreciate it. Happy to be on.
Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Adley Rutschman.
Absolutely, thanks for having me on.
John Angelos.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
Ryan Mountcastle.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Marlon Humphrey.
Thank you.
Talia Tungavailoa.
Thank you guys for having me.
He is J.K. Dobbins.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
The great Ray Lewis.
Always good to be on.
He is Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Good chatting with you.
Watch Glenn Clark Radio at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or anytime on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. Baseball season is here, and for the first time in history, you can bet from your phone in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for the best sportsbook offers and incentives. You can start winning today. Get 5-second chance bets at PointsBet when you deposit and bet your first $50. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers to claim your incentives now. I'm going to do a read real quick of the Orioles and the White Sox starting lineups for today. The game is a 2 o'clock game. The Orioles are away. Kyle Gibson on the hill for the Orioles. Michael Kopech on the hill for the White Sox. Orioles, Mullins, Rutschman, Mountcastle, Santander, Hayes, Frazier, Arias, McCann, and Mateo. That's the starting lineup for them. Rutschman DHing. McCann is behind the plate. And for Chicago, Benintendi, Robert Jr., Vaughn Jimenez, Grandal, Berger, Colas, Sosa, and Elvis Andrus to round it out. So we're looking at, again, Michael Kopech, Kyle Gibson. Gibson 3-0, 3.44 ERA. He already has 3 wins, which is hard to believe. I don't think too many people could have predicted that when the Orioles signed Kyle Gibson. Ended up getting about $10 million, and which was a lot more than most people expected Kyle Gibson to get. But he's been good for the Orioles. He'll look to keep that going today. Michael Kopech is a guy that I had as one of my top pitchers going into this year. I thought Kopech was going to turn around and have a really good year. Former top 100 prospect, someone who pitched really well throughout his minor league career. And he's been good in the major leagues, don't get me wrong. But so far, 0-2 with a 6.75 ERA. So Michael Kopech will look to turn it around against the Orioles today. I think this may be a matchup that favors Kyle Gibson a little bit. The White Sox lineup isn't that great, but Andrew Benintendi's always a sneaky hitter. Roberts always, a lot of power. He already has 5 home runs, batting .316 on the year. Has already driven in 11 runs. There's a lot of, not a ton of firepower in this lineup, but a lot of sneaky guys that'll surprise you. So we'll see how the Orioles fare today. Andrew Vaughn's still looking for his first home run. Personally, for me, I could see that coming today. So we'll see what happens. Paul, are you ready to go over there for the payoff pitch around the league?
Yeah, I think I got this.
Okay.
My apologies to everybody for not getting that done in a timely manner. Sometimes I have prescribed sleep medication for it's not. I don't use it all the time, but if I have a hard time getting to sleep, nice toss.
Didn't go anywhere. Runs right into the tape and goes nowhere.
So sometimes I only take it if I'm having a really hard time getting to sleep. Well, I took it last night, and I could have slept till noon today. I could have slept till noon. I felt like a zombie trying to get up this morning, and the rest of the payoff pitch just completely slipped my mind. But we have it. We are ready to go. Adley Rutschman reached base 4 times again, including a go-ahead 3-run double in the 7th inning to push the Orioles to a 6-3 win over the White Sox. Nick, is it Matone or Maton?
I think it's Matone.
All right, Nick Matone had the green light on 3-0 in the bottom of the 11th with runners on 2nd and 3rd and 2 down and his team trailing 5-4, and he delivered with the walk-off 3-run homer as the Tigers spoiled the Giants' evening 7-5. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, and JT Realmuto combined for 8 hits, 6 runs, and 5 RBIs as the Phillies handled the Reds 8-4. Trevor Rogers struck out 7 while allowing just 1 run over 6 innings, and the Marlins used a 5-run 4th inning to take down the D-backs 5-1. Anthony Volpe hit his first career home run, but Carlos Correa stole the show, homering and ripping a go-ahead 2-run double in the 8th inning as the Twins won for the 2nd straight night over the Yankees, this time 4-3. Josh Bell homered in his return to D.C. to help push the Guardians past the Nationals 4-3. Bo Bichette collected 5 hits, and George Springer homered to finally stop the Rays, who suffered their first loss of the season at the hands of the Blue Jays 6-3. Rafael Devers homered to help lead the Red Sox past Ohtani, Trout, and the Angels 5-3. Adolis Garcia homered and drove in 2 to lead the Rangers over the Astros 6-2. 8 of the Braves' 10 hits went for extra bases, including 5 home runs as they throttled the Royals 10-3. It was the Roland Nolans in St. Louis as Nolan Arenado and Nolan Gorman each collected 3 hits, the latter also driving in 2 to back Jake Woodford's 5 1/3 scoreless innings as the Cardinals shut down the Pirates 3-0. Francisco Lindor hit a grand slam and drove in 7, and A's pitching walked 17 batters. That's 17 batters as the Mets destroyed the A's 17-6. Rowdy Tellez homered twice, and Christian Yelich hit one of his own as the Brewers took down the Padres 11-2. Ian Happ collected 4 hits and 3 RBIs, and Yan Gomes homered twice to lead the Cubs past the Dodgers 8-2. And finally, Jared Kelenic homered and doubled while driving in 2 while former Orioles opening day starter Tommy Malone allowed 1 run while pitching into the 5th to lead the Mariners past the Rockies 5-3.
Tommy Malone. By the way,
I didn't realize he was still in the league.
The Roland Nolans. I like that one.
The Roland
Nolans. That was good. Good.
Yeah.
All right, Yankees. They lost last night, but they have the first game of the day. Domingo Germán on the mound against Tyler Mahle. Twins and Yankees at Yankee Stadium 105. At 1:10, Anthony DeSclafani against to be determined Giants and Tigers at Comerica Park.
Who's to be determined?
To be determined. That's the best pitcher in the league. Orioles and White Sox, as I just spoke about, 2:10 at Guaranteed Rate Field. Kyle Gibson faces off against Michael Kopech. Gibson looked to keep building on that 3.44 ERA. Yoanty Contreras takes on the lefty Steven Matz, who has an 8.18 ERA to start the year. Pirates take on the Cardinals 2:15 at Busch Stadium. Cardinals need to get it right. They're only 6-8. The Rays, the 13-1 Rays, start Calvin Fulcher against Yusei Kikuchi as they take on the Blue Jays at the Rogers Center. 3:07. The Guardians take on the Nationals in a day game. 4:05 at Nats Park. Zach Plesac takes on Chad Kuhl. Freddie Peralta, who's 2-0 with a .75 ERA and 14 strikeouts already on this year, starts against Seth Lugo, who has a 1.38 ERA and has been excellent as well as the Brewers take on the Padres 4:05 in San Diego. Mets take on the Athletics. Carlos Carrasco has got to get it right. He's 0-2 is ERA over 11. He'll take on Shintaro Fujinami as he has a 17 ERA. So a wild pitching matchup there in California at the O.co. At 4:05 as the Mets take on the A's. Tyler Anderson takes on Nick Pivetta. Angels and Red Sox, 4:10 at Fenway Park. Matt Strahm will take on Graham Ashcraft, 4:10 at Great American Ballpark as the Phillies take on the Reds. Braves and Royals, Bryce Elder goes for the Braves. Chris Bubich goes for the Royals, 4:10 at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. The D-backs will take on the Marlins. Ryan Nelson against Braxton Garrett, 4:10 at Lone Depot Park in Miami. Final 3 games of the night, Rangers and Astros. Rangers throw John Gray. Hunter Brown will go for the Astros. Pretty good pitching matchup right there, 7:10 at Minute Maid Park. The two Texas teams going head-to-head. Cubs and Dodgers, Jameson Taillon takes on Michael Grove, 9:10 at Dodger Stadium. Michael Grove with a 14.75 ERA, so he'll have to get it going tonight.
Done.
He's got to get it done a little bit better than that.
Cole Irvin style.
Final game of the night, 9:40 in Seattle. Rockies take on the Mariners. Ryan Feltner takes on the second-year man, George Kirby. But I'm looking through a lot of these pitching matchups today. We've got some good ones. I mean, a lot of really low ERAs to start the year, and then you have Shintaro Fujinami with a 17.55 ERA through 2 starts. So not quite his year so far.
Yeah, a lot of weird pitching matchups. I'm excited about tomorrow's pitching matchup, not for the Orioles' sake because Dylan Cease is tough, but you're getting Grayson Rodriguez against Dylan Cease.
I'll be honest. No, go ahead.
Two of Grayson's first 3 starts are coming against 2 of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I mean, he's getting the ace treatment already, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, I literally texted my dad the day of DeGrom, and I said he's not beating DeGrom. And then the Orioles ended up actually winning that game. So for me,
did they? No, they lost that game.
I thought they won that game.
No, they lost that game.
Did they?
They tied it up 2-2, and then the bullpen.
I could have sworn they won that game.
No, they lost that game.
Regardless,
they lost that game like 5-2.
Regardless, Dylan Cease will be very tough tomorrow, and with a lot of Orioles hitters, some guys they need to face a tough pitcher like Dylan Cease, like Cedric Mullins, like Anthony Santander. They're going to have to get it going against a guy like Dylan Cease.
Yeah, Santander, 3 for his last 33, 0 for his last 11. He has no home runs on the season, and he's batting 4th today. Yeah.
And Mullins still in the leadoff spot.
I'm not saying that you have to take him out. I'm not. He just sat 2 games in a row. Obviously, he's got the low back thing going on with him. But I'm not saying bench the guy because I do believe that he'll get it going at some point. But batting him 4th, like you're throwing like now watch he'll go out and hit 2 home runs today. But I would bat him 7th. I would bat him 7th. Do you have the Orioles lineup for today right in front of you?
Yeah, I can pull it up. I just read it up. So we have Mullins, Rutschman, Mountcastle, Santander, Hayes, Frazier, Arias, McCann, and Mateo. Personally, I think Mateo has done enough for me to be leading off right now. Mullins is not getting it done in the leadoff spot.
He got on base 3 times last night.
Still batting 175 though.
Yeah,
or something along those lines.
I mean, I don't know, man. It only matters in the first inning.
That's fair.
The Orioles consistently find themselves down after the first inning a lot this year.
They have,
which has been troubling. I'm sorry, I got a message from Steve Melewski. Who's batting 6 through 9?
Frazier, Arias, McCann, and Mateo.
Frazier, Arias, McCann, and Mateo, and Hayes is batting 5th.
Yes,
I'd bat Hayes 4th right now.
I would too, and
then move everybody else up a slot, except Santander, put him down into the 7 hole.
Yeah, I think Arias deserves to be batting a little higher, even though it's been a slow start for him. For a lot of what he does well, he started off slow, but I think McCann has showed up pretty well so far in the few games he's played, and he deserves another start. And then Mateo, again, being stuck in that 9 hole, but has elite speed and is getting better, getting on base this year than previous years. So there's a lot to like there. I'd like to see Ryan O'Hearn in the lineup again, given how hot he is. He's been quite good so far for the Orioles.
Yeah. I mean, is it a lefty going today?
It's Michael Kopech, so it is not.
No, it's a righty.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Win this game. You got to win this game, I think, because tomorrow's going to be tough.
Really tough.
Because you don't know what Grayson Rodriguez you're getting tomorrow. We believe that eventually we're going to talk about him in the same way that we talk about Dylan Cease. But right now, this is just his 3rd big league start. He wasn't lighting the world on fire. He wasn't lighting the world on fire in spring training or in his first Norfolk start, and he wasn't great his last start. Although he got a bad rap for his last start because he legitimately left the game in the 5th inning with 2 outs the bases were loaded. He'd only given up 2 runs, and Austin Voth came in, and within 3 pitches, the Orioles were losing. So, to me, it wasn't exactly fair. If Voth comes in and gets the first batter out, Grayson Rodriguez's line looks a lot better. But it's, I don't know, win today, and hopefully the rest will take care of itself. You want to win a series against a team like Chicago. If you lose today, you put yourself behind the 8 ball against a team that you probably should beat 2 out of 3.
Yeah. By the way, Dylan Cease, it's interesting to talk about him because I think if DL Hall were to get to his ceiling, and he is the starter that you think he is going to be, his numbers would probably look a lot like Dylan Cease. He led the league in walks last year, but he also struck out 11.1 per 9. And his ERA was 2.2, and he won 14 games. But he walked 78 guys and walked almost 4 batters a game.
Yeah.
So, and the stuff is really good, throws really hard, but the command is not always there. So far this year, he's walked 4 players in 9 again, but he's up the strikeouts per 9 to 13.2, and his ERA is 1.65 through 3 starts.
Yeah,
So that is what DL Hall, if he reaches his ceiling, could be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. I think DL Hall's got a really special arm. I look at Dylan Cease, and man, when he faced the Orioles last year, I think it was sometime in June, because I remember we were going to my wife's dad's house for a cookout. It was like June 26th or something like that last year. He struck out like 13, 14 Orioles.
Yeah.
He dominated them. Now, look, the Orioles, like we said, they're seeing more pitches per bat than any team in baseball. They're walking a lot more. They have a much better approach. A guy that walks as many guys as Dylan Cease does, I'm interested to see how he fares against this lineup tomorrow. What I will say is that the Orioles, while they've had a far better approach than I can ever remember seeing at the plate recently, they are still a team that will swing at bad pitches.
Yeah.
In my mind, I can still see them swinging at pitches that Cease wants them to swing at tomorrow. So we'll have to see. Again, win today, and then hope for a pitcher's duel that you somehow manage to get to that White Sox bullpen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like if you can get Dylan Cease to throw 9,500 pitches through 5 innings, you're gonna have a chance to win that ball game tomorrow.
Right.
Because frankly, that bullpen is terrible, but you got to get to that point. And you also want to make it, of course, winning a series is nice. It always has a little bit more of a sour taste when you win the first 2 games and then lose the 3rd game.
Yeah.
You really want to get that sweep. Put yourself in position for that by getting a win today, and I think that they have a good opportunity to do that. Still don't like to see Santander. But and here's the other thing. I don't mind Santander being in the lineup. You got to play him.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him batting 3rd or 4th. And even when he's going good, I don't want to see him batting 3rd or 4th. I think he should bat no higher than 5th in the Orioles lineup, and that's when he's going good. And what are your thoughts on that? Because 241 with a 318 on base percentage, to me, that's not good enough to hit 3rd or 4th in any lineup.
No, and it's why we said all offseason the Orioles need that middle-of-the-order bat.
Which Mountcastle seems to have turned
And
into.
Mountcastle has, but I still need another guy there. I still think there's a big gap between what a guy like Santander is and what a guy like Jose Abreu was that you could have gotten on the market. I think there is a desperate need for that. And Santander, again, 320 OBP is not getting it done. Not in the middle of the order. Maybe for a 6 or 7 hitter, that's fine. And if he's hitting 30 home runs and getting on base at a 320 clip, I'm fine with that. That's perfectly fine. But so far this year, no home runs either. What he did in the World Baseball Classic gave me a little bit of hope that he comes out this year, hits more home runs, gets on base more. He looked selective in the World Baseball Classic. But then again, you're facing a lot of pitchers who are maybe not major league quality and not the best pitchers in the world. So, you got to take it with a grain of salt, of course. But to me, he's not getting it done right now. Shouldn't be batting 4th. Is more of a 6 or 7 hitter.
Interesting to me to see to see Adam Frazier batting 6th in this lineup.
It's a weird spot for a contact-only guy.
Yeah. See, for me, I wouldn't mind. And so people tell me all the time, they're like, who's going to be in your lineup if you don't have Santander batting 3rd or 4th in the lineup? And they're like, how do you figure it out? And I'm like, why is this so difficult? Why do people think that this is so hard? Every now and again, you can bat Adam Frazier 2nd in this order, and you can move Rutschman to 3rd in the order. 3rd in the order. If you're just tuning in, you hear me say move Rutschman to 3rd. I mean 3rd in the order, not 3rd base. So if your lineup today read Mullins in center field, Batting second, Adam Frazier, second base. Batting third, Adley Rutschman is the DH. Batting fourth, Ryan Mountcastle at first base. Batting fifth, Austin Hayes. Batting sixth, Anthony Santander. Batting seventh, Ramon Arias. Batting eighth, James McCann. And batting ninth, Jorge Mateo. To me, that lineup looks a lot better. And people are like, somebody said to me, you would bat Adam Frazier second against the left-handed pitcher. When I said why, like when I said that the lineup that I would have had, when McCann batted fourth the other day, which made no sense to me, and I said, you can bat Frazier second.
Yeah.
And they're like, against the left-handed pitcher, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this, and that's fine.
But by the way, James McCann should never, ever again bat fourth. Ever. You never bat a backup catcher at fourth. Let's make this very clear.
Yeah.
That was a wild decision.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from.
No way. You don't know where that's coming from? It's coming from the worst manager in the American League East.
Yeah, but I still don't think the lineups are all him. I think the front office has huge input.
No. I think they tell him who they want him to play.
It's possible.
I think that the batting order is 100% him.
I don't know.
And he basically took ownership for that the other day. He said, I decided to bat Ramon Arias. When he batted Austin Hayes first, that one game a few days ago, he said, I tried. They're like, what goes into the decision to bat Austin Hayes first? He goes, well, I batted Arias first in the lineup the other day. That didn't work out for us. He's like, so maybe this one will be better.
So give him one shot and then immediately demote it back to
he went
the
0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts.
That's fair.
That's like batting Chris Davis leadoff.
Yeah, which has happened, by the way. Buck Showalter tried that out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Fun times.
That's how I feel when I see James McCann batting fourth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Ryan McKenna batting sixth and playing left field. Look, there is no, especially against the righty, there's no reason why Adam Frazier can't bat second.
No.
In this order. Because he makes contact, he doesn't strike out, he has good at bats, he can get on base for you. I would much rather see him batting second, Rutschman batting third today with Santander in the 6 or 7 hole than the lineup that they put out. Now, look, I still think it's a solid lineup. I think that you're doing this team right now a disservice by batting Santander fourth, because let's say that the first 3 guys get on base and the bases are loaded with nobody out and Santander comes up, and he grounds into a double play, or he strikes out, which I think is a strikeout, or he pops out to third base. I think all those scenarios are incredibly likely at this point. You've basically just thrown the wrench in the spokes of a rally right there. It's a rally killer to have a guy who's struggling this badly bat fourth in your lineup. I 100% say move him down, and it's a right-handed pitcher, and you're giving Gunnar Henderson the day off. Whatever. I know that he's struggling too, but why is Santander? And I get that Santander's been here, done that in the past. But he's struggling just as bad, if not, you can argue worse, because at least Henderson's still taking his walks.
Henderson gets on base, and then is a danger on the base path because of his speed. So he's a little more valuable right now than Santander has been, and the fact that Santander has been banged up. That's another element to all of this. But, Adam Frazier should be batting higher in the order. Adam Frazier
not
takes...
all the time, but if this is...
Not against lefties,
If you're going to play him... If you're going to... And honestly, against lefties, why not? Honestly, why not?
So then all the time. I mean...
Because if you're not going to play some guys that you would normally play against a left-handed starter, if you're going to move Cedric Mullins down in the order against left-handed starter, if you're going to give Gunnar Henderson a day off, why not bat Adam Frazier second in the lineup?
Yeah.
And somebody's like, against the left-handed pitcher, that's what this person said to me. And it's like, okay, well, he hits better against left-handed pitching than Ryan McKenna.
Yeah.
Than Adley Rutschman. Adley Rutschman this year has been off the charts, but for their careers, then Cedric Mullins, then Jorge Mateo, then Anthony Santander. So, and he doesn't strike out. He struck out 3 times all year. This is a guy who, and the last game that Adam Frazier, which was 2 days ago, started against a left-handed pitcher, he lined a rope up the middle in his first at-bat that got called because they were shifting on him, and the shortstop was basically right at the bag at second base. That would have been a base hit any other time, right? He lines out to left field where the left fielder is playing shallow, and normally that ball is a base hit.
Yeah.
And he also had an RBI single. So I'm sorry, an RBI double. So for me, Adam Frazier he's making solid contact against left-handed pitching. There's no reason not to bat him second when Santander is struggling the way that he is right now, if you're not playing Henderson.
Adam Frazier takes unbelievable at-bats. He'll just stand there and foul off the ball like 7 times, and it's what Brett Gardner used to do. You know, you watch Brett Gardner, and he'd stand up there and just foul off the ball many times as possible, hang in there. It'd be like a 3-2 count, and he'd keep working it. That's what Adam Frazier does, and that's one of the hugely valuable parts of this, of his profile and why he's so valuable to this team. It's, you know, we can argue that signing all we want, but the truth is that Adam Frazier takes probably the second best at-bats on this team. Gunnar Henderson probably takes the best. Because
Adley takes the best.
Adley takes really good at-bats,
Adley's
too.
on base is like 490, dude.
But that's not my point. I'm talking about seeing as many pitches in, you know, and then ending up with a walk, which is what Adam Frazier does a lot. Rutschman walks a ton, too, but Gunnar Henderson seems like his walks are going to probably lead the team this year if he plays, you know, 140, 150 games.
I think Rutschman leads the team in walks.
Does he? I know Gunnar Henderson is, 12 now?
Yeah, but Adley walked 3 times last night.
Okay.
And he was only 1 behind Henderson going into the game. So I think...
So they're tied at first. They both have 12.
Okay.
Henderson and Rutschman. Regardless, he's the third best. But he's right up there with Rutschman and Henderson with taking really good at-bats.
I think takes really good at-bats.
He does. Just doesn't really get to play enough where I feel like we don't get to see as much. But yeah, you're right.
You're not going to play him over Adam Frazier. I get that. You're not going to play him over Arias or Henderson or Mateo. I understand that too. And I don't necessarily want to see too much of Vavra in the outfield. But I think Vavra takes good enough at bats that when he does play, if you need to like move somebody down the order, you could bat him second.
Vavra he's a lot like Adam Frazier in many ways. They're very similar profiles, very similar players, and he's obviously a lot younger. So if Adam Frazier ends up, you know, leaving after this 1-year deal and Terrin Vavra ends up taking that spot, that's not a bad thing for the Orioles at all. Not a bad thing.
I don't know that that's going to happen. I think Terrin Vavra is still going to be a utility guy because then they
Most
have all
likely.
those guys coming up from the minor leagues.
368 on base percentage so far this year. Small sample size. It's only been 8 games and 19 plate appearances, but still.
Where's Adam Frazier?
Frazier was around, I think, the same thing. He was his on base so far is 341.
341, which is about what you'd expect for him when he's at his best. His average is down to 256, but it's not like he's not making contact. He's hitting some tough luck outs. He's kind of rolled over a little bit recently. We didn't expect the way he started to continue, but he's a solid piece for this team. I don't hate the signing now like I did back then. Now ask me in 2 weeks if he's still struggling, but I don't hate the signing now.
He's not Rougned Odor.
Yeah, he's a far better player than Rougned Odor in my humblest of opinions. Now, this leads us right into we've been talking about these young players that could be coming up, and we've been talking about how good Adley's been and how good Ryan Mountcastle, about how good these people have been. And it leads me to who deserves the extensions and what those extensions might look like. Adley Rutschman, his price tag goes up every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Now, I was listening to Ryan Ripken on 105.7 The Fan yesterday, and he said, if I'm Adley Rutschman, he's at 25 years old. He's getting one big contract. I'm expecting $35 million a year.
At least.
So you're thinking 10 years, $350 million should be the starting point for an Adley Rutschman extension?
Yeah.
10 years, 300. There's no way the Orioles are doing that.
No. There's no chance.
No way. They'll come in at 10 years, $210 million.
Probably.
That's what they'll come in at. And if they come in with anything,
Adley is going to make himself a very wealthy man, but I do not see the Orioles, at least right now, being the ones to be that team.
And this is why I don't see it.
This
is why I went on that rant 2 weeks ago about John Angelos, because I legitimately don't see them. I feel like they're already fumbling this. I would agree.
Because
you've watched all these young players who aren't the player that Adley is.
Yeah. Adley is
get locked up already.
In reality, right now, he's a top 5 player in baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no question.
You can't watch what he does on a day in and day out basis, and especially at the position that he plays, and think that he's not top 5. He's one of the lead. If you were to cast your vote right now for MVP, who's better than him right now?
Ohtani.
You think Ohtani?
Yeah.
Pull up Ohtani stats before you just say Ohtani.
I mean,
because we know what Ohtani can do, but has Ohtani really outperformed Adley Rutschman?
Yeah.
I don't think he has.
I mean, Ohtani's made 3 starts and has a .47 ERA, and he's batting .295. and his OPS is 949. And he
Okay.
already has 1.64. So, yeah, I think Ohtani's bad. I think Ohtani, as long as he plays in Major League Baseball, will be the best player in Major League Baseball because he can do both.
Okay, what's his team's record?
Fair. But Mike Trout won a lot of MVPs with a bad record,
Yeah,
too.
because he was clearly the best player in baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, Ohtani is clearly the best player in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess you're right, because they're what, 7-7?
He's 404 OBP, too. Like, Ohtani has been it all so far. I think the Angels, they haven't been great, 7-6. So
They're
do have
7-6. So the Orioles are 8-6.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, you can't say, well, look at the team's record because
Mike Trout, by the way, 433 OBP.
well,
Not
he's
bad.
Mike Trout.
He's Mike Trout, but only batting 261, but 433 on
All
base.
right, now go look at Adley, who's hitting 386 with a 489 on base percentage. Is that what we're
Something along those lines. Let me get over here to Adley's page. Sooner rather than later. 377 with a 492 on base percentage, OPS of 1134.
And what's Ohtani's OPS?
949. But the 3 starts in a .47 ERA. I mean,
Okay.
he's
well, Adley's not a pitcher.
correct.
And Adley catches. And
Yeah.
Adley plays every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can make... And Adley... I guess you can make the argument because he has Mountcastle protecting him. Adley doesn't have Mike Trout protecting him.
Yeah.
Adley, offensively, is having a better season than all those guys that you pointed out. And,
No doubt.
And those guys are having great seasons, which just goes to show just how good Adley has been. I'm so tired of this computer just going to... It says it's not supposed to go to sleep for 20 minutes and me not touching it.
And mine does it every 5 minutes. I got to tap the trackpads.
It's legitimately, it's every 5 minutes, and I have to type in a password.
Yeah.
Again, because it's my work computer. I have to type in a password every single time, and it's a long password, like a really long one, because you have to the password has to be 18 characters. I'm not
I can
even
only
joking.
imagine what you made it.
It has to be 18 characters. It's Zach Goodman for president.
Yeah, something like that.
Zach Goodman for president 2032.
The big Grayson, the big Rod Rodriguez.
The big rod. That's got to stick.
It's gotta stick.
Grayson, the big rod. So you think that an Adley Rutschman extension has to be 10 years, 350
At
million
least,
minimum.
At least.
There's just no way they're doing that. There's no way.
No,
that
they're not going to do it.
It's just not going to happen. They may have already come to him and been like, "Hey, 10 years, 210 million." He was like, no."
Yeah.
They may have already done that.
I mean, I would think it'd be foolish to think they haven't approached him at this point about an extension.
Would it be foolish to think that?
It's Adley Rutschman, though.
Yeah.
After what he did last year, put up 5 WAR and not even close to a full season. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. It would be foolish.
But
it would be foolish.
You got a point. You got a point.
Right. Okay. Ryan Mountcastle. Do you give Ryan Mountcastle an extension?
No, definitely not for a first baseman.
You don't think so?
No.
Who's coming up behind him?
It's a good question. I mean, you have Kobe Mayo, who's a question mark, I guess, at this point. Samuel Basayo can play a little first, and if Adley Rutschman...
Kobe Mayo, who's hitting 200
in
Double-A.
A lot of power, though. If you look at Basayo, Heston Kjerstad's been playing a lot of first base lately. Those are 2 guys that are possibilities.
Basayo's 3 years away.
Yeah, but he's been really, really good to start the year.
Yeah, but he's 19.
And Heston Kjerstad, if he ends up a first baseman, which it looks like he's going to play a lot of it, could be months away.
Okay, and what about a DH?
Yeah, I mean...
you don't think that you could get Ryan Mountcastle to sign a 7-year, $140 million?
I would not do that.
You wouldn't give him $20 million a year?
No.
Okay, no, yeah, you're probably right.
First basemen are too replaceable, in my opinion.
You wouldn't give him $15 million a year for 7 years?
I would never sign him to a 7-year deal, no. Maybe 5 years. 15 for 5, sure.
Who's the last... Oh, I guess it was Chris Davis. I don't know, man. You say that they're too replaceable. Who in the... I don't...
There's just a lot of first basemen in this league that, maybe not as good as Ryan Mountcastle and not even close to as good as him, but are relatively good lineup fillers that can hit a good amount of home runs. Eric Thames, no, I'm kidding about Eric Thames, but if, for example, Eric Thames came over and really didn't get paid much money at all and had a couple really good years, hit 30 home runs for 3 years straight, that's exactly the kind of thing I'm thinking of. So maybe he's not going to get on base like Ryan Mountcastle will, and even Ryan Mountcastle, it's a huge question for him, but maybe not hit for average. But you can probably find someone who might hit for the similar power for a little cheaper.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Ryan Mountcastle's 25, 26 years old. He's probably going to hit 30, 35 home runs this year, if not more. I think he's going to hit about 260, 270 this year while playing pretty solid defense over at first base. I'd lock him up. If you can get Ryan Mountcastle to sign for 5 or 6 years, averaging $15 to $18 million a year, I think you do it.
But in a full season, he's never had an OBP over 309. And even this year, as well as he's started off, his OBP is 286. I don't know.
His own base percentage is only 286.
286. So for me,
that's crazy.
I am not signing him to a 7-year deal. There is no question in my mind that's not happening for me.
Yeah, 7 years. I thought his own base percentage was far higher than that.
3 to 5 years, maybe I can make an argument for that because he is probably going to hit 30 home runs a year.
Yeah.
So,
man, 286 is so low.
So he's only walked 3 times and struck out 17 so far. So
yeah, I don't care about the strikeouts.
That's fair.
Those are going to happen. I'm surprised. I thought he walked more than that.
But he's leading the major league in RBIs as well.
Yeah, and he's second in home runs. Yeah, he's off to a good start. What about Felix Bautista?
Yeah, I would start considering it for sure.
I think he's the best closer in baseball.
I think he's one of them, and especially with Edwin Diaz out. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody can touch him. Yeah. Nobody can touch him. When they make contact, you're shocked, right? Like when somebody gets a base hit off him, you're shocked.
His stuff is unreal.
He can throw 101 miles an hour anywhere he wants, and then 0-2, you know he's coming with a splitter. You know that pitch is coming, and you still can't hit it.
He's striking out 20.3 per 9 right now. 20.3.
He struck out the side last night.
Yeah.
Every time he comes in, if he doesn't get 2 strikeouts, you're shocked.
It's unreal.
He's so good. And he's 28, 29 years old
28,
now.
yeah.
He's 28 years old. I think he turns 29 this year. I would sign him 100%.
I would too.
Now, what does that deal look like?
You probably got to give him 5 years because guys demand so many years these days and contracts. But I think
that if you
maybe get a little bit of a discount given that he's a homegrown player, maybe something along those lines, and that the fact that he's already 28 years old, you may get a bit of a discount there.
I think he's going to want 5 years, $100 million. I think that's the starting point.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
you look at the Edwin Diaz contract. I think that's the starting point.
Here's the good news, though. You've got him locked up for 4 more years after this one, most likely. So
these are issues that a guy like Felix Bautista, you don't have to come. You don't have to approach that anytime soon.
Yeah.
Guys like Adley Rutschman, you got to start talking about it.
Yeah.
You know,
they're unquestionably.
Are there any other? I mean, Gunnar, you think you're going to want to extend him at some point?
At some point, yeah.
And look, I'm not too concerned about Gunnar because if you look up what Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Witt and Spencer Torkelson and what Adley Rutschman did, what they all did their first 3 to 4 weeks last year, and I know that,
and still with Torkelson, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know that Gunnar got a cup of coffee for 6 weeks last year. This is Gunnar's rookie year.
Yeah.
Right? This is like teams weren't caught off guard by Julio Rodriguez and Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt last year. They knew they were coming, right? So they had the whole offseason to plan for them. Well, they had a lockout and all that, so I get that, but they had time to plan for them. Gunnar, you're just you had a little bit of minor league video, and you're like, all right, we'll just do what we can for the last 6 weeks. They had the entire offseason to plan for Gunnar. He's going to turn it around, and you're going to want to extend him at some point. Who else on this team aside, and Grayson Rodriguez, if we think he is what he's going to become, but that's not somebody you're worrying about really right now.
Not yet, no.
Right? So Gunnar, Grayson, Felix, and Adley are the only ones you're legitimately considering extending right now. Am I correct? Is there anybody else that you would look at and be like, we should extend that guy?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if there's anyone specific. I know Cedric Mullins has been a name thrown around a little bit.
Up and
but
down with him, man.
I don't know. I mean, especially with Kjerstad on the way, Kowser coming, and Kjerstad's not a center fielder and will never play there, Kowser could easily play there and be successful.
I'm not sold on Colton Kowser yet.
He hasn't performed that well this year so far either.
He hasn't performed ever at AAA.
Yeah.
He got to AAA towards the end of the last year. The end of last year and beginning of this year, he has not been good at the AAA level. So to me, it leaves you wondering what his value is. I know that he takes a lot of walks.
406 OBP last year. I mean, that'll play.
He takes a lot of walks, and he hit that 476-foot home run down in Sarasota earlier in this past spring training. I got to see him start hitting, and I got to see him cut down on the strikeouts.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I mean,
I'm not ready to say, we can get rid of Cedric because Colton Kowser's coming.
Yeah.
I get that he was a number 5 overall pick in the draft, but until he actually starts hitting at the upper levels of the minors, because Bowie, everybody hits at Bowie. I'm convinced it's just everybody hits at Bowie.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I got to see him do it at AAA for an extended period before I'm ready to say, Cedric is what's the word I'm looking for? Is it expendable or expensible?
Expendable is the word. I don't know if necessarily either, though, you can take the other extreme and say extending Cedric Mullins is a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know that you can say that either.
Yeah, so. I think there's definitely someone. He's probably going to be a 3 or 4 WAR player per year. But with the amount of money that he's probably going to command, you'd rather use that on a guy like Bautista or Rutschman.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I
or maybe
agree
Henderson or Rodriguez.
I
down
agree
the
with
line.
that. And we're also discounting the fact that the Orioles might be trading for a player.
Easily.
That they're going to need. And they could trade for a center fielder that can get on base better than Cedric Mullins.
Sure.
You have no idea what they're going to do. But right now, Cedric's got to get it going. If Cedric gets it going and he's hitting 275 with 20 steals at the All-Star break, that's somebody who I would consider extending. The way that the way that he looked at the beginning of the year last year, the way that he looked at the beginning of the year this year. Now look, what did Cedric hit last year? Like 260?
Like 269, I think, or something.
I don't think it was that high.
You might be right.
I think it was like 261. We'll have to figure that out, but
I'll get it.
We got to get Cedric Mullins. We got to get Steve Melewski on the line here. That'd be cool if we had Cedric Mullins.
That would be cool.
I do have his phone number in my phone.
Do you?
I do. We text all the time, me and Cedric.
I know that, yeah. He batted 258 last year.
258 last year. He stole 34 bags. I don't know that you extend a 258 hitter, but Kevin Kiermaier has never been a 258 hitter, and he's gotten 2 decent contracts. So today's show brought to you by the Toyota Tacoma, which comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. I don't know. Right now, I guess the only people you can make an argument for really at this point is Adley Rutschman and Felix Bautista. Maybe Mountcastle if he hits 280 with 40 home runs this year. If Cedric gets back to about 270 hitter and he steals 40 or 50 bags. Grayson Rodriguez and Gunnar Henderson, I think down the line, you're going to look at those. Even Felix Bautista is a guy you're probably not looking at right now as giving an extension to because he's still got 4 years after this year of team control. So it's something that the bottom line, I think what everybody can agree on here is Adley Rutschman should have an extension coming to him sooner rather than later, and it's only going to get more expensive the longer you wait. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm a little surprised that he hasn't been – maybe he has been approached and we don't know, but I'm a little surprised that we haven't heard anything about it. He's clearly one of the best players in baseball, and all apologies to JT Realmuto. He's the best catcher in baseball right now. I don't think you can really make a solid argument against that. Joining us on the line right now, finally able to get him back on the show for the first time in quite a while, from MASNsports.com, he is Steve Melewski. Steve, good morning. It's Paul. It's Zach. This is the Bat Around. Thanks for joining us today.
You got it, guys. What's happening?
Not too much. I'll tell you what's happening, honestly, is Adley Rutschman. He's happening all day, every day. He seems to be getting on base 2 to 5 times every single game, Steve. As Adley goes, so go the Orioles. Discuss Adley's impact on this team and just how damn good he's been this year to start.
Well, it's remarkable to think back. May 21, I guess it was, when he was called up. And look at how he's hitting now and think back to his start, where after 20 games, 3 weeks of baseball, he had no homers and no runs batted in. But once he started to hit, he hasn't stopped. And we know the Orioles had a winning record once he joined the team last year, so his impact is vast. And it's what you hope you get out of a 1-1. I mean, you hope you get a great player. And he seems to be that. And I think what put him over the top for the Orioles in that draft over Bobby Witt Jr. was, while Witt plays a premium defensive position, Rutschman plays one that might be more premium. I mean, How many catchers are there out there that bring elite skills both sides of the ball? And he does, and he makes vast impact on both sides, and we're seeing it now. And I mean, his ability to calm himself and just be so relaxed in the last 2 games with game-on-the-line situations and come through is pretty remarkable.
Steve, that at-bat last night where he hit the go-ahead double, it's the 7th inning. He's down 0-2. And I'm sitting there, I wasn't worried. I'm like, this count's getting to 2-2 before anything else happens. And then the third pitch of the at-bat, 99 miles an hour on the outer half, and he just rips it into the left center field gap, puts such a beautiful swing on it. 99 on an 0-2 pitch on the outer half of the plate, Steve. Who does that? And then you look at what the at-bats that he takes, the confidence that he has, and his knowledge of the strike zone, and then you look at the team as a whole. They led the majors in pitches per at-bat going into last night at 4.2. Then they saw 5.125 pitches per at-bat last night and walked 9 times. How much of Adley is rubbing off on his teammates, or do you put more of that on the pitching coach, not pitching coaches, the hitting coaches than anything else?
Well, I think it goes back to things we've been talking about and I've been writing about on the farm under the new regime. And the term they've used from the beginning is swing decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this on the farm where they challenge the hitters at 4 o'clock in batting practice by throwing all pitches. They don't just groove 80-mile-an-hour fastballs to get them loose. They challenge them. And I wasn't sure how that would go over, but it went over well. It turned out that these 20-year-old kids on the farm, they like that. They think that prepares them for the game, and the team has worked so hard on better swing decisions. Make sure if a pitch is on the corner early in the count, let that pitch go. You can't drive that pitch. Wait for one that's more middle, or one that you can hammer later in the at-bat. And they've done a great job with this, and 2 of their best students are Adley and Gunnar, and of course they already came to the team with good plate discipline. So let's give them credit. It's not like they were not disciplined hitters and the Orioles made them that. They were pretty disciplined hitters, and the Orioles have made them maybe even a tick better. And so today, if you look at the walks leaders in the American League, you have Gunnar at 12, Adley at 12, and Mike Trout at 12. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, when did we think we'd see 2 of 3 Orioles joining Mike Trout, leading the league in walks, and the Orioles in on base are 3rd in the American League. So this is big for this offense, which right now is scoring nearly 6 runs a game.
Yeah, and Steve, I'm glad you brought up Gunnar Henderson because he does have the 12 walks, and he's hitting 150, but his on base percentage is 368, which is pretty damn incredible when you consider the fact that he's hitting 150. Brandon High said he thinks he's maybe being too patient at the plate. Do you buy into that, and do you think that it's only a matter of time before he really breaks out?
I do. I think it's only a matter of time. And I talked to him during the homestand, and I reminded him, and I didn't have to remind him, that he started 1 for 31 when he moved to Aberdeen, and everybody forgets that now. But there were times in Gunnar's minor league career where periods went when he didn't hit. And so he's drawing on that experience now, and he told me that what he learned the most about that is don't show up every day and try to change something to fix it. It's not broken. Just stay with your process, your approach, as the Orioles like to say. And he told me it's a good thing he's drawing all those walks because he's seeing the ball well. He's not chasing to try to get hits, and eventually he will. I mean, he hit that double the other night, hit it really hard. And so it's going to happen for Gunnar. It's a matter of time. And he'll be ringing hits all over the ballpark.
And I'll tell you, you mentioned the double the other night. The double on opening day, as soon as it got off the bat, I was like, I don't care who's playing center field, that ball's not getting caught. He hits the ball as hard as anybody in the league. And like you said, don't change the approach. And eventually, like you said, those hits are going to start falling. And I'm excited for when that happens because, Steve, the Orioles, you mentioned they're 3rd in OPS. They're seeing more pitches than any team per at bat. I think they're 3rd in home runs. They are offensive, and they're 2nd in runs, only to Tampa Bay. They are tearing the seams off the baseball. How much better can this offense be once Cedric Mullins, Gunnar Henderson, Anthony Santander pick things up?
Right. I mean, that's a very valuable point. I mean, the Gunnar's average is going to go up. Cedric, we know, will hit better. And Santander, obviously. These guys have not performed to their track record yet, but they will. Cedric got off to a great start in Boston and really cooled after. So it's coming for them, and what'll probably happen is they'll start to get it going, and then Adley may have a 2 for 15 because he's just going to. He's not gonna hit 400 all year. We know that.
Right.
So ups and downs will be coming. You almost never have a stretch in your lineup where you go, wow, 8 guys are hitting right now. You know, it might be 3 or 4, but if it's the right 3 or 4 in the right spots, they can carry you, and then they fall off and 3 or 4 pick it up, and then you look up at the end, and they all have had pretty solid years, or many of them. And that's what they're hoping. And so right now, you consider the starting pitching has not been good overall. 8 and 6, I think you take that. And if they catch the ball in Boston, it's 9 and 5, looks even better. So I think you got to say that's pretty good. They have not played Murderers Row. We know that, and so they do have to roll some wins here in April against the so-called lesser schedule, based on last year's records, and get rolling here, and then straighten out the pitching, which I think Bradish's return, Grayson, as he gets more experience, I think we'll see some of that.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the pitching. You were down there in Bowie for Bradish's start last night. Am I correct?
I was, yes.
And he 4 of the 5 innings, he had clean innings. He did give up 4 runs, 3 earned in the 4th inning. What did you see from Kyle Bradish in his rehab outing last night? And do you think from what you saw that he's ready to get it going in the big leagues as early as Wednesday?
He is, I think, and he thinks that, more importantly. He threw really well. His velocity was mid-90s, where you think it would be, maybe even a tick above. He was throwing all his pitches. The best part for him is he got through 5 innings. He ran his pitch count up to 82. So now in Washington, if he gets that start, he can go 90. He's not a 3-inning guy. He's a 5 or 6 inning guy if he pitches efficiently. So he can get you deeper into the game. And the velocity held through his start. And the best news, as he said, is his foot's completely healed.
That's good.
He's not thinking about it. It doesn't hurt. He can push off. He fielded a hard-hit ball, hit back at him. Wasn't hit like the one in Texas, but it was a one-hopper on the mound that he gloved it, and he showed no ill effects of anything with the foot. Says it's completely healed, and he's ready to go.
Now, that's all great news to hear, especially that the foot isn't bothering him at all anymore. The Orioles' rotation has taken a hit with Bradish going down and with Irvin not pitching up to his capabilities and being demoted. And we don't like to say demoted because it was a good time in the schedule to kind of send him down because they don't really need 5 starters for the next 5 to 7 days anyway. And then you also look at Dean Kremer being pretty ineffective in his 3 outings, and Austin Voth hasn't pitched lights out at any point either this year. Who is the next guy up? I know they brought up Spencer Watkins. I have to believe that would be more in a long relief type of role. Who would be the next guy to come up? And that would lead me into DL Hall. Do you view him as a starter or a reliever at this point?
I think that he's a starter now. The team sees that because this is a pitcher with several plus pitches. Mm-hmm. So his profile says all these pitches he can throw that can be quality. That's what you want in a starting pitcher. And he's got the mindset of a starter, and he can throw 96, 98, 100. So he's a starting pitcher for me. If over time his command and control eludes him more consistently as it has at times, that'll be the difference maker. But that doesn't lead to a good bullpen guy either. You don't just say, he walks a lot of guys, so put him in the bullpen. But DL Hall could be a late inning weapon, and there are some scouts and people in baseball who have been projecting him that for a couple years now. But I think the Orioles are smart to realize that starting pitching is such a premium. If you have a young talent, think he can be a starter, you have to exhaust that, especially with a high draft pick, with a kid with this upside. You don't just move him in the bullpen because maybe you need a bullpen arm. Right now, they're making decisions to win now. We know that. But with young talent, you still have to make decisions for the long term for them, too. It's not damn the torpedoes full speed ahead on every move here. But we'll see DL, and I think he's going to be good. And so fans have asked me, is he better than Grayson? And I say he's not, but I say this. If each pitcher threw their A1 game on back-to-back nights, they would look about identical. Not in their how they pitched, but maybe in the results. When DL is at his best and Grayson is at his best, it's a toss-up to me. Mm-hmm. Grayson seems to, over his career, been at his best more often. He's more consistent with the command and control. That's the separator. But these are 2 kids with elite stuff.
Yeah. Steve, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Noah DeNoyer, a guy who had a 2.89 ERA last year over 21 games pitched, struck out over 12 per 9. Is this a guy you look at as a potential guy that could come in and pitch for the Orioles at some point this year, or a potential piece down the road? Obviously, he's made some starts, also come out of the bullpen a lot, but in 3 games so far as a 1.8 ERA in 2023. Is this a guy you see as a piece?
Yeah, I mean, when you got on the 40-man as he did, you're probably going to get a shot. because over 6 months they go back and forth with pitchers. I mean, and he threw that really good game the other night, so he definitely has put himself on the map. I mean, the Orioles have I think they have some promising pitchers who aren't getting talked about much anymore. I was at Bowie last night talking to Forrest Herman, the pitching coach there. They essentially have like 9 starters, and they're pitching like 2 in a game, almost a piggyback situation as they build up innings for these guys. And so Armbruster is there, and Chase McDermott is off to a great start, and Cade Povich is there, and Houston Roth pitched last night behind Bradish, and they just have a bunch of arms they like, some that are flying under the radar, but some that will be pushing for time. And then Denoyer's he's a step above them right now because he's higher level, and he's had maybe more longer success, and he's on the 40s, so his day could be coming.
Now, on the offensive side of things, we've seen Heston Kjerstad get off to a tremendous start down there at Bowie. He has 4 home runs, 3 more than anybody else on the team in just 7 games. We know that he's going to make it to AAA at some point this year. Do you think Heston Kjerstad is in the will maybe force the Orioles' hands to be part of their plans as early as the second half of this season? And then also been spending a lot of time. He played 3 games at first base before he even set foot in right field this season. What's behind that as well?
I mean, I think they basically know that this kid's coming fast. The power is legit, and it's big. He hit one out to the off-field last night, first inning, and that's 4 homers in 7 games. So he's not his batting average isn't great right now, but his power is, and he just continues hitting from day one of spring going back to the end of last year. He's just been raking for this extended stretch over 2 seasons now. So the Orioles know they have a future nugget, to use one of Buck's words. And I think the first base move, and I was told last night, he'll still be mostly an outfielder, but he's going to get 2 or 3 games a week at first probably, because they want options. When his day comes, whenever that is, the Orioles want to be able to say, we can play him in left, we can play him at right, we can DH him, we can play him at first. So that's 4 spots in the lineup he could fit. And they're just giving themselves more options because I think they realize this kid's going to make it.
Yeah, he looked really good. And what I really like to see from him, Steve, was that towards the end of spring training, he was getting starts against big league pitchers, and he was continuing to hit. He looks like a guy who's going to be firmly in the middle of the Orioles' order, maybe sooner rather than later. And I know for sure he's in their plans maybe as early full-time as 2024. So we will certainly see. Now, Steve, before we let you go, we do play a little bit of a little game here called Take the Rake. I think you may have played with us in the past. The rules are simple. You pick the one offensive player that you think is going to have the best week between this Saturday and next Saturday. The only rule for you, Steve, is that you can't take Gunnar Henderson because our last guest took Gunnar Henderson, but you can pick anybody else on the roster.
I'm going to stay with Austin Hayes. I mean, that would be a nice extended stretch of hot hitting, but I love his approach right now. And he's taken a middle field approach, and I think this winter, when on my blog when we talked about the players, there were some fans starting to get a little down on Hayes because he didn't tear it up all last year, but he still was a little above average hitter, just a little. But I think he can take a little above average and become significantly above. And I just go back to when he was on the farm, he was Baseball America Player of the Year finalist with Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Ronald Acuna. So he was considered in that class then. And I'm not putting him in that class now, and maybe he won't be. But I think there's another gear he can find, and he's finding it right now. And again, he's going to be in left field in Baltimore with his speed and arm. It's going to impact games there too. So he's got such a great outlook, and he's such a great fit in the clubhouse that I really like Hayes. And I think he's just getting off to a great start. I think it'll keep going for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent pick. Anything he hits, he tears the cover off of. Steve, thank you so much. We love having you on the show. Where can our listeners find you?
Well, at MASNsports.com, of course, we write every day there, and MASN Steve on Twitter. And I'm also doing, again this year, post-game radio, not today, but after many games, They can call in and listen in on WBAL Radio, the Oriole flagship station. The game broadcast goes about 20 or 30 minutes after the last pitch. And most days, again, not today, don't tune in today and say, where's Steve? But I'll be back tomorrow, for instance, after the game with a post-game show on WBAL Radio.
Steve, we look forward to hearing all those. They're always a great show following an Orioles game. Thank you so much for taking some time. We will talk to you down the road, okay?
You got it. Have a good one.
You too. See you. That was Steve Melewski joining us for a segment here. I love talking to Steve. He's got so much knowledge about the big league team and, more importantly, especially with your top farm system, the minor league team as well. He watches, he sees a lot of Orioles minor league baseball, so it's really great to have him on the program. I like his take for Take the Rake with Austin Hayes. We're going to catch a break. When we come back, we'll give our pick for Take the Rake. We'll do the bet around and close things out with our final thoughts. Want to remind you that today, that these are truly the final days to pick up this print issue of Press Box featuring Gunnar Henderson on the cover. And coming this Wednesday, a new edition of Press Box Hit stands recognizing the pipeline of talent that is still to come for the Orioles. Like we just said, Steve Melewski is at the forefront of that. It's including Jackson Holliday, Colton Cowser, Heston Kjerstad, Kobe Mayo, and so many more. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports? As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's!
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age, and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Harford Community College in Bel Air, Maryland, along with the National Junior College Athletic Association's Region 20, will host the 2023 NJCAA Men's Lacrosse National Championship May 13th and 14th at Harford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air. Semifinals are on Saturday, May 13th. The National Championship is Sunday, May 14th. Catch the action for $10 each day. Tickets will be available in advance or at the gate on game day. Qualifying teams will be announced.
All right, welcome back to the Bat Around. Rolling right along here, final segments of the show. Press Box's Glenn Clark Radio is a definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or facebook.com/PressBox Sports, or listen to PressBoxOnline.com/radio with podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with the infamous Ken Francis, top Orioles prospect Kobe Mayo, White Sox slugger, Baltimore native Gavin Sheets, and Freddie Kitchens, who was Odell Beckham's coach in Cleveland. You can find those interviews and more right now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in Review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. SportsGrid.com. Glenn Clark Radio, proud to bring you the Bat Around. Also, my last read before we went to break about the print issue. It's about the Orioles prospects, their farm system, and I said Steve Melewski's at the forefront of it. I want to be sure that you all know that Steve Melewski is not featured or writing in Press Box, but we were talking to Steve Melewski before I did that read, and I was tying it in, but it may have been confusing. He is not in our Press Box print issue that comes out on Wednesday, but go pick it up because you're going to get to learn about all the Orioles' top prospects coming from the top farm system in baseball. And now it is time for Take to Rake. Last week, I, at 2-0, got to pick first again for the third straight week. I took Cedric Mullins. He went 4 for 24, 4 walks, 6 strikeouts, two ribeye steaks, and 3 stolen bases. Zachary Goodman took Jorge Mateo. He went 4 for 16, 2 doubles, 4 RBIs, 1 walk, 5 Ks, 2 stolen bases. Neither one of them raked, but Mateo...
the OPS was basically 700. Yeah.
Mateo had less at-bats. I don't think he would have gone 0 for 8 and not gotten on base in those 8 at-bats that were missing. Cedric Mullins, I think the on-base percentage was better. But it's raking, not walking.
Mm-hmm.
So... We're going to say Jorge Mateo got Zach his first win of the year.
I'll take it. Anytime I can get it.
Yeah, that's what I hear about.
See, oh man, I would never let Cedric Mullins beat me either because he's my winner every time I pick him. Except last time, that doesn't count.
Well, if he had two more hits, you would have had no choice.
Yeah. All right. So I don't really think there's anyone I could pick besides Rutschman or Mountcastle. So my decision here is probably going to be. I'd be stupid not to go Rutschman. I'll just go Rutschman.
Yeah, you'd be stupid not to go Rutschman. I can't take Austin Hayes because Steve Melewski took Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
Do I want to take Mountcastle or do I want to take a flyer on somebody that I think...
Mateo's up there if you want to take that. Adam Frazier's on the board. You never know. Might get a few base hits.
I'm going to take Gunnar.
Okay.
I'm going to take Gunnar. I don't know that he's going to hit 350 this week, but I think he's going to start getting some hits to start dropping, especially facing. He's not playing today. I probably should have taken a guy who's playing today, but
should have taken 4-hitter James McCann.
Yeah,
I mean that.
Right. And he might not play tomorrow against Dylan. Well, no, he'll play against Dylan Cease tomorrow. But they got some games against DC, and then they come home and they play Detroit. I think he's going to have an opportunity.
A lot of wins they should be able to get in this stretch.
Yeah,
Detroit, DC. That should you
Detroit,
should.
They have Boston in Baltimore.
Okay,
and I think in Baltimore, I think they're better than Boston.
How many games combined is that DC and Detroit series? 6, 7?
DC and Detroit is 5.
5. Oh,
you
wow.
You have
okay.
2 in DC. So you're off. You're off Monday. You play Tuesday, Wednesday in DC. You're off Thursday.
Be a big missed opportunity if they don't win 4 or 5.
Yeah, they gotta win 4 or 5. And I want to see them win 2 or 3 against Chicago. I like to see them sweep.
Yeah,
but win today.
Yeah.
Win today, and then whatever happens tomorrow, if they win, it's just gravy. If they lose, okay, it's hard to sweep a series.
I mean, Detroit is
against Dylan.
Did you see what Javi Baez did? By the way,
no. What did he do?
So he got thrown out of the game by AJ Hinch because AJ Hinch was, I guess, tired of his antics. Whatever. Baez had no idea how many outs there were. Was standing on second base. The hitter hits a fly ball to center field, and Baez just takes off. Just a routine can of corn fly ball, easily going to be caught. And Baez just takes off like there's 2 outs. He gets to third and realizes, oh, there was 1 out. Goes back, obviously gets thrown out for the double play, and he gets kicked out of the game by AJ Hinch. Javier Baez is a mess.
Yeah.
What a waste of money.
The Tigers are a mess.
Yeah.
AJ Hinch is like done with this
team. Yeah,
team.
you can see his facial expressions. He's done.
Well, they were somebody, and I can't remember who it was. Somebody who went to try to steal second 2 or 3 nights ago, and got thrown out and didn't even slide.
Wow.
And they asked him about it, and at the end of the game, he goes, "Yeah, you'll have to ask him. I've never seen that where a guy tries to steal a base and doesn't slide."
I mean, this
in
is
a second. He said you can tell that he is like. He hates his roster. Maybe he doesn't hate his roster, but he's like...
Who wouldn't, though?
He's like done with this.
With Baez, too. I mean, that's something that little leaguers don't make that mistake. That is a horrible mistake to make as a Major League Baseball player. To not know how many outs there are and run like there's 2. You can't do it. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
And Baez knew he screwed up. I mean, he looked frustrated, but that's totally on him. It's on no one else but him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
So far, he's hitting 159 with a 245 on base percentage. So it hasn't been Javi Baez this year, and he hasn't hit a home run yet. He only has 3 RBIs, and last year 278 on base percentage. It has been a quick fall for Javi Baez.
Yeah, they gave him a lot of money to not be very.
Ever since he the New York fans, the Mets fans booed him, and he gave them a thumbs down. It's been kind of a downhill roller coaster for Baez ever since. But
yeah.
I don't want to hate on Javi Baez to finish the show, but
all right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna jump into the bet around. The Orioles are facing off against Michael Kopech today.
Yep.
Kopech 6.75 ERA in 2 starts. He has walked 6 in his 2 starts, and he's given up 5 home runs in 2 starts after allowing just 15 in 25 starts last year. He's gonna figure it out. He's gonna figure it out at some point.
He's a good pitcher. Yeah.
I'm going to say that what you should take to hit a home run, you're getting plus 340 odds on Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan Mountcastle to homer off of Kopech today, plus 340 odds. If you want to do another one that I really like would be, hang on, let me batter props. Hang on one second. To hit the first home run, Ryan Mountcastle at plus 750. I can see him hitting a first-inning home run. So Ryan Mountcastle plus 340 just a homer today, or plus 750 to hit the first home run. I think either way, it's a good bet. Maybe you could parlay those. You could parlay those together. I also am saying, because I think that Kopech is a better pitcher than what he's shown, take the under on 9 runs today. Kyle Gibson's been pitching really well. The White Sox haven't been taking great at bats. Minus 105 on the under of 9 runs today. I could see this being a 5-3 ball game.
Easily.
Something like that.
Here's the weird thing with Kopech, too, and this is going to even out at some point in his career. I don't know if it'll be now or later when it will be, but struck out 13.4 per 9 in 2021. 2022 went all the way down to 7.9.
Mm-hmm.
And this year back up to 8.4. I think Kopech is a much better pitcher than what he shows. His FIP wouldn't exactly tell you that, and his WHIP wouldn't either. But he strikes out a lot of guys. Doesn't necessarily have the best control in the world. He's already walking 5 guys a game this year, and he walked 4.3 last year per 9. But Kopech is going to figure it out at some point. You just hope it's not the Orioles today, but it absolutely could be. He could easily strike out 11 or 12 today.
He could, but you also have to remember that the Orioles are seeing more pitches. They're going to make him work.
They are.
And once they get into that bullpen,
yeah.
But they're gonna need him. The White Sox need to get length out of him. They're 100% because they don't want to put this game on the backs of the bullpen. So last week we took Judge plus 290, plus 2,900 to homer twice. That was a miss. He didn't homer at all. The next day he hit 2 home runs.
Yeah.
We were a day early. We took the over on 8 runs. That at minus 115. That was a miss. O's lost that game 4-1 last Saturday. So again today, Ryan Mountcastle plus 340 to hit to homer, plus 750 to hit the first homer, and the under on 9 runs. I'm going to change that. I want to take the over. I think
really.
I'm going to say take the over at minus 115 because I'm thinking about both of these bullpens, and I think that the Orioles may have used a lot of bullets last night.
That's fair.
Both these bullpens haven't been very good to this point. So take the over on 9 runs at minus 115. And if I'm wrong, we'll discuss it next week on the Bat Around.
We'll blame you, Paul.
Blame me. Final thoughts. You won Take the Rake, and I think I went first last week anyway. So what are your final thoughts?
I didn't necessarily have a final thought prepared, but I guess tomorrow getting to Dylan Cease early and often would have to be what they're going to have to do if they want to win that game and if they want to have any chance. I expect Grayson Rodriguez to probably go about 5 innings. Maybe he gets 6. Maybe you get 8 strikeouts out of him and he gives up 2 earned runs. That would be preferable. That would be, give Brandon Hyde some length, save that bullpen a little bit. But you got to get to Dylan Cease, get good at bats off Dylan Cease. Let him walk you. And they will do that. The Orioles have been taking walks this year. So they've already been doing that. Continue that against a guy that is going to walk about 4 players per 9.
Yeah, my final thought is I watched that game last night.
Mm-hmm.
And what I saw from that game was when the Orioles started piling on at the end, the body language of the White Sox players, they gave up. The double that Hayes hit, not the double that Hayes hit, the double that O'Hearn hit. The center fielder came over and fielded it after Benintendi made the weirdest looking jump of all time and missed the ball. And he just kind of lollygagged. He didn't really. He just kind of stood there and was like taking his time, like, who am I going to throw this in? So you could just tell that he was like, here we go again. The Hayes the double the Hayes the double hit, the double that Hayes hit. Again, he smashed it off the wall, 110.5 miles per hour off the bat. They had an opportunity to get him at second base, and nobody covered second base.
Yeah,
nobody covered the bag. The whole point in this is the White Sox kind of quit last night. Get out to an early lead against them. Put something together. Make Kopech throw a lot of pitches tonight or this afternoon. Make Cease throw a lot of pitches tomorrow afternoon. Get out to an early lead and watch this team quit. Yeah. Watch the White Sox quit. These are games that you can win because the White Sox don't think that they can win right now. Maybe and stop giving up early runs. The Orioles are just giving up. They're falling behind a lot in the first inning. You don't want a White Sox lineup that has some good hitters in it to get confident. So shut them down in the first inning, get some early runs, take an early lead, keep the same approach, keep taking a lot of pitches, keep making these starting pitchers work, and they're going to break. The White Sox are going to break. You saw it start last night. The body language was awful the last couple of innings of that ball game. So that's my final thought for today. Special thanks to Stan the Fan Charles for his weekly segment. Thanks to Steve Melewski, who was great as always today, talking some Orioles minor leagues and what's happening at the big league level right now. And thanks to all of the listeners. Without you, we don't have a show. Thanks to our sponsors. Without you, we don't have a show. Thanks to Zach Goodman for the great work that he does each and every week, co-hosting and producing this show. What he has to do over there behind those computers, it's no small task. So we certainly appreciate your help every week. Guys, Orioles 8-6 have an opportunity to win the series here, have an opportunity to win a lot of games before they hit a brutal stretch in May. So
they got to win these games.
They have to.
Especially Detroit. I mean, Washington played the Guardians really hard last night. They ended up, Guardians won 4-3, but they put up a good fight. There's some decent pitching in that Washington rotation that's kind of quietly been good this year. That may be a tougher series, only 2 games. You got to beat Detroit.
Well, you got to turn that into Camden South.
Yeah.
You've got to. And the Orioles fans usually do. They usually show up in D.C. for those games. So until next week, see ya.